Chapter 321. However, just because others did not treat Lin Yuan as prey did not mean that the scene was thriving. Almost at the same time that the boulder began to tremble, the cultivators present had already drawn their weapons and began to use their own methods to kill those unknown fellow cultivators. It seemed that they wanted to minimize the number of competitors before entering the secret realm. In fact, this was how it should be. This was because most of the cultivators present did not want to monopolize everything in the secret realm. Most of them were people who had been stuck in the airborne realm for a long time. The purpose of participating in the exploration of the secret realm this time was to find suitable spiritual items, then directly consume and refine them to help themselves break through the bottleneck. If this was not the case, when a secret realm opened in the northern frontier, and even Lin Yuan the ruler had come, the other cultivators would at most come to drink a mouthful of soup. How would they dare to choose to enter the secret realm on the same day as Lin Yuan? As soon as these cultivators found suitable spiritual items, they would immediately eat them. Why would they care whether or not others needed them? Formation. Lin Yuan heard the woman surnamed Zhan roar in the midst of the chaos. Looking around, Lin Yuan's eyes quickly flashed with a smile. These idle cultivators did not care about what kind of background they had. They did not even care about Lin Yuan and the others, let alone a group of foreign cultivators. Therefore, almost all the cultivators from the northern frontier began to encircle and kill the foreign cultivators. The thoughts of these northern frontier cultivators were very simple. Even if they did not get those spiritual items in the end, the secret realm in the northern frontier should be digested by the people of the northern frontier. It was not the turn of these foreign cultivators at all. The woman surnamed Zhan's roar was like a stabilizing needle. Of course, the quality of the embroidered uniform guards was also there. After being caught off guard at the beginning, the members of the embroidered uniform guards quickly broke away from the current battle. One by one, they took out the cannons at their waists and gathered together. Next, the woman surnamed Zhan did not need to command them anymore. The cannons in their hands roared, and a fiery red barrage instantly shattered the water and swept toward the cultivators who were still fighting. Some of the cultivators were blown up on the spot by the powerful cannons. There were also some cultivators who jumped out of the battlefield that was harvesting human lives. There was a bit of fear in their eyes. No one would have thought that there was an organized force among these foreign cultivators. Everyone was equipped with hand cannons that could shoot underwater. Such a force could no longer be from one side. These people were obviously the elite forces under the Shenwu dynasty. Not bad. Lin Yuan nodded inwardly. Although the cannons of this world seemed to be backward, their power was even more terrifying than those in his previous world. A single point of fire was not enough to make people feel apprehensive. However, when these people formed a formation and shot out a barrage of bullets, even Lin Yuan himself had to temporarily avoid the spearhead. Bang! A dull sound of collision rang out. A member of the embroidered uniform guard directly fell to the ground. With Lin Yuan's keen dynamic vision, he quickly discovered a thin and long bloodstain on the neck of the fallen corpse. An expert had made a move. Moreover, it was an expert who specialized in hidden weapons. Lin Yuan's pupils constricted slightly, and he began to scan the crowd. He had to be on guard against this kind of silent method of taking someone's life. However, compared to the clueless embroidered uniform guard, Lin Yuan's gaze quickly fixed on a bare-chested brawny man. The star of misfortune, Chen Guanshan, was a wanderer of the Qingjiang dynasty. He specialized in hidden weapons and movement techniques. The hidden weapon he was famous for was called the Coil of 1,000 Threads. It was somewhat similar to the method Lin Yuan had seen in the movies of his previous world where top killers used steel wires to kill people. However, this method of controlling steel wires used true qi to control objects. The steel wires were hidden in the air, and the slightest bit of carelessness could lead to death. Normally, the Coil of 1,000 Threads was worn by Chen Guanshan. However, at this moment, Chen Guanshan was bare-chested. It was obvious that the dead embroidered uniform guard was his handiwork. Of course, only someone like Lin Yuan, who placed great importance on the census and had the shifter emperor asking for information from the Northern Territory Chamber of Commerce, knew of Chen Guanshan's background. If it were anyone else, they would never have guessed that Chen Guanshan was actually a hidden weapon expert just by looking at his bare upper body and bulging muscles. Bang! Bang! Another two members of the embroidered uniform guard fell. The cause of death was still the thin and long bloodstain on their necks. The woman surnamed Zhan also looked around for a moment, but she still couldn't lock onto her target. She only looked at Lin Yuan suspiciously for a moment before she gritted her teeth and said, Form the ring formation. According to Lin Yuan's previous world, the ring formation was actually a group of people forming a circle. Under such circumstances, there was almost no blind spot. Therefore, even the most powerful hidden weapon expert wouldn't be able to succeed easily. Treating the symptoms but not the root cause. Lin Yuan couldn't help but sneer in his heart when he saw the woman's decision. There were still 26 members of the embroidered uniform guard. If they formed the ring formation, they would indeed be able to help each other. However, their opponent was always lurking in the dark, waiting for them to reveal a flaw. As for the embroidered uniform guard, they were always tense. Once the confrontation between the two sides dragged on, the matter would quickly be dragged out of the woman's control. The secret realm is open. Someone in the crowd shouted, immediately attracting everyone's attention. The boulder blocking the rift valley was indeed lifted up by some strange power. It floated quietly in the water, revealing the rift valley that was previously covered, as well as an azure light screen. It was unknown what they would see after passing through the screen of light. However, after passing through the screen of light, they would directly enter the secret realm. The woman surnamed Zhan turned her gaze and said with a gloomy face, "Maintain the formation and move towards the entrance of the secret realm." If 26 people wanted to maintain the same pace, it would be easy for a professional army to do so. However, for an organization like the Embroidered Uniform Guard that was similar to spies and secret agents, they naturally didn't have such training. Therefore, it was naturally very difficult for them to maintain the formation and move. The other cultivators swarmed towards the entrance of the pocket dimension. As for the members of the Embroidered Uniform Guard, they were still dawdling their way forward. Although they felt somewhat sullen, there was still an invisible threat all around them. Not many of them dared to leave their formations so recklessly. Seeing her subordinates hanging their heads in dejection after being suppressed, the woman surnamed Zhan could only start to cheer them on. "Don't worry, don't panic. Take it slow. Bang! Bang!" The woman surnamed Zhan hadn't even finished speaking when 2 more embroidered uniform guard members died. Chapter 322. However, this time, it wasn't Chen Guanshan who made a move. Instead, it was Lin Yuan, who had been secretly observing the situation. In this environment where water was everywhere, it would be too easy for Lin Yuan to use his formless ice to take away a few lives. Although Chen Guanshan had already rushed into the secret plane's entrance, his previous actions had still planted a seed of fear in the hearts of these embroidered guard members. Therefore, Lin Yuan only needed to secretly add fuel to the fire, and he would be able to directly raise their fear to panic. As far as the members of the embroidered guard were concerned, it was as if there was an invisible ghost roaming around, wantonly reaping the lives of their comrades. None of them knew if they would be the next to die, so the invisible pressure they felt was extremely terrifying. Bang! Another corpse fell to the ground. Finally, the taut string was completely pulled apart. These embroidered guard members no longer cared about their formation. They all put down the hand cannons in their hands and swarmed towards the secret plane's entrance. After all, since the person who had been secretly attacking them was still killing people, it meant that he definitely hadn't entered the secret plane. Therefore, if they entered the secret plane now and quickly distanced themselves from the people behind them, they would be safe. In the midst of the panic, the woman surnamed Zhan's orders didn't have any effect. After all, the last 2 times she had spoken, it had only been effective for a very short period of time. This time, everyone was looking out for themselves. Naturally, no one would pay attention to her. The hunt has begun. Lin Yuan walked to the side of the woman surnamed Zhen. His eyes flickered with a cold light as he spoke in a low voice. These 5 simple words were like a heavy hammer that smashed into the woman surnamed Zhen's chest. In an instant, it was as if all the strength in her body had been sucked out of her. Even her footsteps became weak, and her eyes revealed a trace of despair. The embroidered guard members gathered here were definitely not weak. However, they weren't that strong either. If they were caught by Lin Yuan alone or in small numbers, they would definitely die. Originally, everyone had maintained their rationality. She could still manage to coordinate and not give Lin Yuan much of an opportunity to take advantage of. But now, the rationality in the minds of the embroidered guard members had been completely erased. Right now, they only wanted to live. Therefore, the battle between them and Lin Yuan had changed from a competition in which Lin Yuan had a slight advantage to a hunting ritual where Lin Yuan hunted them down. Lin Yuan turned his head and glanced at the woman surnamed Zhan, who was in a daze. A trace of mockery flashed in his eyes. In the end, this woman wasn't a powerful figure. She looked at the problem too superficially. She probably didn't even consider that the lake was currently surrounded by the Beijing Guard Army. Even if she left the lake, she wouldn't be able to easily get past Lei Fan. Furthermore, judging from Chen Guanshan's actions, Lin Yuan was certain that he wasn't the only one targeting the embroidered guard in the dark. After all, although Chen Guanshan was an independent cultivator from the Azure River Empire, the organization that had taught a hidden weapon expert like Chen Guanshan was in existence similar to the embroidered guard in the Azure River Empire. Even if the Azure River Empire and Frost Empire couldn't send a large number of people across the Hengduan Mountains, it wouldn't be a problem for them to send a few elites to kill the embroidered guard. Who asked Lei Qiuxing to be so stubborn? The situation was clearly very tense. Even the resources in the national treasury might not be enough to support a few more large-scale battles. However, Lei Qiuxing just wasn't willing to lower his head. He kept retreating as he continued to fight the Azure River Empire and Frost Empire. The territories that the embroidered guard wanted had already been taken by force. However, Lei Qiuxing just wasn't willing to sign a peace treaty to cede those territories to the embroidered guard. Lin Yuan didn't understand Lei Qiuxing's actions, but he could understand Lei Qiuxing's feelings. Lei Qiuxing's position wasn't rightful to begin with. Even if those people didn't say it out loud, they would still talk about him in secret. If Lei Qiuxing couldn't make great contributions while he was on the throne, even if the Lei clan was able to secure the throne, he would still leave behind a terrible name in the history books. Let alone ceding territory, even if he just defended it, he would be cursed to death by the scholars of the previous dynasty and the Xinwu dynasty. Many emperors in Lin Yuan's previous life had similar psychological burdens, so it wasn't strange. What Lin Yuan found strange was that according to the information he had, Chen Guanshan actually had nothing to do with the organization behind him. At most, he would deal with the embroidered guard out of respect for the person who had taught him how to cultivate. However, he definitely wouldn't do it now, nor would he act so decisively. His actions were more like he was trying to curry favor with Lin Yuan. Thinking up to this point, Lin Yuan had already passed through the door of the secret realm. Following the feeling of constantly falling, the last bit of light in front of Lin Yuan's eyes was completely extinguished. When he regained his vision, he discovered that he had already appeared in an unfamiliar body of water. All sorts of aquatic plants floated around him, as well as colorful corals. Below him was pure white sand. When he raised his head to look up, he saw a clear and transparent water surface. At this moment, sunlight shone through the water surface onto the white sand. The entire scene was magnificent. But what about those people who had entered the secret realm before him? What about the rumored aquatic monsters? What about the water-washed spiritual objects that were everywhere? After a moment of silence, Lin Yuan used his thoughts to communicate with the system. Stupid system, did I transmigrate again? This place didn't seem like a secret realm filled with dangers and opportunities at all. It was more like a vacation spot. Lin Yuan didn't even see the existence of any other creatures other than himself. Detecting a large number of Wisdom State Level 4 demonic beasts approaching. Host, please be careful to avoid them. The system didn't directly reply to Lin Yuan. Instead, a warning popped up. Lin Yuan was slightly startled, his face full of confusion. Wisdom State Level 4 demonic beasts? He still had to avoid them? What kind of joke was this? In the next moment, Lin Yuan suddenly saw a stretch of white figures from the corner of his eyes. When he looked again, he saw countless small silver fish about a foot long approaching him. Lin Yuan didn't even have time to count the exact number. In any case, these foot-long silver fish meandered through the water surface of several hundred meters. It was extremely visually impactful. Isn't this 2F** King generous? The corner of Lin Yuan's mouth fiercely twitched twice. He didn't dare to hesitate at all. He turned around and swept in the direction where there wasn't any movement. The foot-long fish formed a school of several hundred meters long. Each and every one of them was an existence of Wisdom State Level 4 demonic beasts. Even if a Void Realm cultivator encountered such a school, he would at most be able to hold on for 2 to 3 breaths of time before being gnawed into a pile of bones. No wonder the system didn't even have the intention to talk nonsense with him and directly told him to run. Chapter 323. The silverfish were obviously carnivores. When they saw such a delicious prey like Lin Yuan, these small silverfish started to chase after Lin Yuan with bloodshot eyes, as if they were on drugs. They were like sharp arrows in the clear and transparent water. The silverfish were clearly demonic beasts of wisdom state level 4, but their speed was comparable to that of Lin Yuan, a demonic beast at the peak of wisdom state level 10. The distance between the two sides had been maintained all this time. Even if he considered that the other party might just be a demon beast that was good at speed, Lin Yuan had no intention of stopping. After all, he was confident in his defensive power, but even an iron pestle could be ground into a needle. These small silverfish came up and directly gave him a bite. Even if it was scraping, they could directly bite his dragon scales into pieces. Black snake? Soon, a few cultivators appeared in front of Lin Yuan. There was even a member of the embroidered guard among them. At this moment, they didn't have the ruthlessness they had when they were fighting outside the secret realm. They even chatted casually. Of course, their movements weren't slow at all. They frantically searched the nearby waters, wanting to find the rumored priceless treasures. When they saw Lin Yuan being chased by a large school of silver fish, these cultivators didn't panic. Instead, they looked like they were watching a good show, as if they didn't realize the danger that was about to befall them. After all, powerful monsters were all colossal creatures. Even after reaching the wisdom realm, they would intentionally shrink their bodies to move around. However, there wouldn't be any changes to their nature. When they encountered a battle that required them to go all out, they would still reveal their true forms. Therefore, in their eyes, these silverfish didn't pose any threat at all. There was even a human cultivator who courted death and took the initiative to approach Lin Yuan. Moreover, he reached out to touch the silverfish that were constantly flying over. He sneered, as expected of the Blackwater Dragon King of the Northern Frontier. Even when encountering these aquatic beasts that aren't under his jurisdiction, our Dragon King is still kind and benevolent. He isn't willing to kill them. Yes, a wild beast. That was the cultivator's judgment. After all, any random intelligent demonic beast would be over 100 meters long, and they wouldn't always move together with their own group. In the eyes of demonic beasts, only the weak would move in groups, and these hundreds of meters long silver fish obviously couldn't be any powerful existences. However, at the very next moment, the cultivator who provoked the silverfish paid a terrible price. The level 8 airborne realm cultivator did not even have a chance to struggle before the silverfish. His shield of spiritual chi was eaten up by the silverfish in less than a blink of an eye, followed by his flesh and bones. The cultivator still had a mocking smile on his face at the moment of his death. He then disappeared, right before everyone's eyes. Even the blood floating in the water was quickly devoured by the silverfish. It was obvious that a human was not enough to satisfy the silverfish's thirst for flesh and blood. After devouring the cultivator, the silverfish did not stop at all. Instead, their eyes turned blood red, and they thirsted for flesh and blood even more. Lin Yuan had long expected the cultivator's fate. After all, there had been more than one terrifying disaster like the locust plague in his previous life. Those locusts that blotted out the sky and covered the earth did not stop at all. All kinds of plants in the mountains were eaten up, and that was under the condition that there were plants for them to eat. At most, the refugees could not find food to fill their stomachs. However, if there were no plants and they encountered a locust plague, those hungry locusts would really eat people directly. Lin Yuan did not know what these silverfish were, but their feeding habits and numbers were all there. It was not an exaggeration to call these silverfish locusts. The remaining cultivators frowned at the same time. After seeing their comrade die, they did not dare to have any other thoughts. One by one, they began to follow Lin Yuan and began to run. Finally, the silverfish stopped chasing Lin Yuan and his party. Pairs of blood-red eyes paused on Lin Yuan and the other cultivators for a moment. They then turned from the back to the front and began to turn back the way they came. Phew! Haha! Did we survive? A cultivator put his hands on his waist, showing obvious signs of fear on his face. Those silverfishes were simply too good at chasing. He was at level 8 of the airborne realm, and he entered the secret realm in his prime. Yet he ended up being chased by those silverfishes until he was exhausted before he was even able to find any spirit items. If the chase were to continue, he might have been left behind due to exhaustion of spiritual chi. The environment around them was more or less the same. Lin Yuan and the other cultivators were all running with their hands on their heads, so they had no idea how far they had run. There were even some unlucky ones who fell behind due to running out of spiritual qi. They were also devoured by the silver fish. Lin Yuan was speechless. Lin Yuan looked at the panting cultivator with a blank expression and did not say anything. Instead, he began to look around with the corner of his eyes. After being chased by the silver fish, Lin Yuan's rating of the secret realm rose again. While they were safe for the time being, Lin Yuan did not let his guard down. It was obvious that the silver fish were not uninterested in them. Before they left, Lin Yuan was able to see a strong reluctance in the eyes of those silver fish. It was obvious that those silver fish did not let them go of their own accord. As such, there were only two possibilities for the current situation where they escaped. First, every creature in the secret realm was limited by the creator of the realm. Lin Yuan and the others just happened to escape the space of the silver fish, which was why they were able to escape. Second, the silver fish did not let them go for any other reason, but because they had entered the territory of even more terrifying creatures. If they entered the waters without careful consideration, those silver fish would have turned from hunters to prey in an instant. As such, the silver fish had no choice but to give up on pursuing them. Lin Yuan personally leaned toward the latter. After all, if it was the former, the being who set up the secret realm was too terrifying. Not only could it create such a terrifying secret realm, but it could also cut the area in the secret realm and restrict the activities of the creatures in the secret realm. That being said, the Fire Kirin, who had once created the Surreal world, was far inferior to the being who created the secret realm. Chapter 324. Currently, the strongest in the demon clan was only in the wild demon realm, while the strongest in the human clan was only in the Kongming realm. It was hard to say if there were existences of a higher realm above them, but this was definitely not the era where they were active. Moreover, not only did such existences not appear in the world, they did not even leave behind any inheritance. Otherwise, with the aptitude of the Beast Lord Kirin, how could he be in the wild demon realm now? This arcane realm could not have been left behind by the mighty people of ancient times. Could it? What kind of joke was this? Roar! At this moment, an earth-shattering roar was heard. Lin Yuan instantly stood up, his pair of different-colored eyes revealing a dignified look. Although the system did not indicate what realm the owner of this roar was in, Lin Yuan felt a strong pressure from this roar. This was extremely inconceivable for Lin Yuan, who had the pure blood of the water dragon in his body, because he could not see a trace of pressure on the faces of the human cultivators around him. They were purely afraid that the owner of this roar would appear in front of them. Therefore, this pressure should have come from above the bloodline. To be able to suppress the blood of the water dragon so easily, could it be that the owner was a descendant of the spring snow dragon? I'm kidding, brother. Although Lin Yuan had spread the rumor that this arcane realm was actually the burial place of a fallen dragon, Lin Yuan did not really think that there were pure-blooded dragons in this arcane realm. After all, there were only a few of them in the Dragon Palace of the Four Seas. How could they appear in such a small arcane realm? However, the truth was right in front of him. Lin Yuan had to mobilize all his attention, and began to be vigilant in the direction of the roar. Soon, two huge creatures that were constantly entangled and strangling each other appeared in Lin Yuan's sight. Dragon! Jiao! Lin Yuan's gaze was almost instantly attracted by the entangled huge creatures. Although the system did not prompt him, and it was the first time he saw these two creatures, the identity of the other party inexplicably appeared in his mind. As a giant python that was about to transform into a dragon, Lin Yuan had an innate sense of familiarity with the dragon, but that was all. After all, in this strange arcane realm, who knew what kind of mentality these monsters had? What if they were all bloodthirsty lunatics like the Fire Kirin Sumeru world? As for the Jiao, it was Lin Yuan's first time seeing it. However, he had heard of this creature more than once in his previous life. It was said that this creature was an imaginary creature based on the model of a water snake. Some people said that the Jiao would transform into a dragon after 500 years, and it was an existence similar to a young dragon. However, whether this creature really existed or not, there was no evidence in Lin Yuan's era. He had only seen the carvings of the Jiao on some bronzes from the end of the Western Zhou dynasty. Therefore, to be able to see the existence of this creature with his own eyes was still a great shock to Lin Yuan. However, at least Lin Yuan could be sure that the Jiao in this world was not a young dragon. On the contrary, This Jiao did not seem to be inferior to the dragon it was fighting. However, in terms of combat strength, the two should be at the same level. Gulp! A human cultivator swallowed a mouthful of saliva heavily. He really regretted it now. He shouldn't have rashly entered this secret realm that had never been explored by anyone just because of some rumors. First, there were those extremely terrifying silver fish. Now, there were two extremely terrifying snake-type demonic beasts that were fighting each other. If he was lucky enough to survive, who knew what kind of terrifying things he would see in a while? Run! Lin Yuan narrowed his eyes slightly and calmly spat out a word. Immediately, he rushed in another direction without looking back. When he was still a monster in the spirit awakening realm, he had tangled with an earthen yellow python. In the end, he had easily strangled a tiger-type monster whose cultivation was higher than his. Although the dragon and the Jiao were fighting ferociously and did not pay attention to these creatures who had intruded into this realm, their position just happened to be in the path of the two monsters. If they did not dodge in time and were caught in the entanglement of the two monsters, Lin Yuan would not dare to say that he could survive even if he revealed his true form, let alone these fragile human cultivators. When the remaining cultivators saw that Lin Yuan had decisively fled, they naturally did not dare to stay in place. After all, as long as the Heaven's Strength Realm big shots did not make a move, Lin Yuan was the strongest person to explore this arcane realm. Now that even Lin Yuan did not have the intention to fight with the two monsters in front of them, why should they show off? In fact, Lin Yuan and his party were not the only ones who were crazily hunted down. All the people who entered the secret realm were disrupted by some kind of special force and were randomly teleported to various corners of the secret realm. Those who were lucky were even directly sent to the side of a certain spiritual object, and those who were unlucky fell directly into the nest of a demon beast. However, most of them were like Lin Yuan and the others, who were randomly teleported to a certain area in the secret realm and then began their journey to explore the secret realm. However, with the exception of those who were directly sent to the side of the spirit item, almost everyone else was chased by the monsters in the arcane realm in a frenzy. They did not see the spirit item at all, and many cultivators even lost their lives for no reason. If the forces behind those cultivators were to find out about it, they would probably be heartbroken. After all, while airborne realm cultivators were not top-notch fighters, they were still very difficult to train as the mainstay of the forces. Especially those who were able to enter the arcane realm smoothly. There was no way they would be ordinary people. If someone at level 8, 9, or even 10 of the airborne realm were to run into monsters in the arcane realm, they would be crushed in an instant without even having the chance to fight back. Even if they were lucky enough to survive, they would have to endure a long period of being chased. There was even a chance that they would be able to shake off the monsters chasing them and enter the territory of more powerful monsters. In the beginning, those cultivators all thought that they were just unlucky. However, the area of the arcane realm was limited. Soon, many cultivators gathered together and began to talk about their unbearable experiences during this period of time. It was only then that they found that everyone seemed to be the same. That arcane realm was not for them to explore at all. It was for fear that the monsters in the arcane realm would starve to death in there. That was why they deliberately let those cultivators in there to feed them. In an instant, countless cultivators cursed the person who spread the news about the arcane realm. The resentment of those people almost broke through the sky. At that moment, the woman surnamed Zhan, who was being cursed by countless people, was mixed in the crowd with a complicated expression on her face. She looked at the arcane realm that was completely unfamiliar to her. Chapter 325. Why was it like this? How did things turn out like this? Why were the things in the mystic realm completely different from what the embroidered uniform guard secretaries had surveyed? 4 hours later. Almost all the cultivators who had entered the mystic realm had gathered in a relatively safe area. It was also the territory of the silverfish that Lin Yuan's group had been in before. Although there were many silverfish, they were all Class 4 sentient realm demonic beasts. These demonic beasts should be at the bottom of the food chain in the mystic realm. In terms of strength, Lin Yuan could easily crush a large number of them when he saw the flying serpent and water flood dragon entangled together. After Lin Yuan's group had rushed for a distance, they decisively returned to the area where the silverfish had first chased them and successfully met up with the cultivators who were gradually gathering here. That area should be the most terrifying place. Lin Yuan had seen at least 7 water flood dragons. As for the slightly weaker flying serpents, Lin Yuan had seen at least 30 of them. Even the weakest of them was comparable to a heaven-dipper realm existence. With Lin Yuan's little bit of cultivation, even if he had the pure water flood dragon bloodline in his body, he wouldn't dare to move freely in that area. However, perhaps because of the bloodline, although those water flood dragons didn't communicate with Lin Yuan, none of them took the initiative to attack Lin Yuan. In fact, when some of the flying serpents tried to attack them, the water flood dragons would let out a series of warning roars. Otherwise, they might not have been able to walk out of there alive. Could this place really be the burial ground of some ancient dragon? Lin Yuan secretly pondered in his heart, and there was some doubt in his eyes. Die! An angry roar suddenly woke Lin Yuan from his thoughts. A burly man with bulging muscles brandished two broad axes and charged straight at Lin Yuan. Just by looking at his scarlet eyes, Lin Yuan was certain that this guy had been scared out of his wits by the mystic realm's demonic beasts. Or rather, this guy had been scared out of his wits by the mystic realm's demonic beasts. Now, whenever he saw a demonic beast, he would have an inner demon. He didn't care that Lin Yuan was an outsider like him and treated Lin Yuan as one of the mystic realm's demonic beasts. He immediately brandished his weapons and charged at Lin Yuan. Lin Yuan's thoughts were interrupted, and he opened his eyes with an unhappy face. A blue light bloomed in his heterochromatic pupils. The next moment, the water around the brawny man instantly rushed. There was no chance to react at all. These water currents formed a strong water rope and directly tied the brawny man up. Then, Lin Yuan looked around. The group of human cultivators lowered their heads silently, not daring to make any eye contact with Lin Yuan. After all, they knew very well that even if they cultivated water-type cultivation methods, fighting underwater with a water-type demonic beast like Lin Yuan would not be easy. As for this burly man, who would care about him? He wasn't smart enough to go looking for trouble with that black snake. Wasn't that just courting death? Seeing that no one spoke up and no one stood up for the burly man, Lin Yuan sneered. Then, he controlled the water rope to quickly tighten. The burly man didn't even have a chance to struggle and was directly strangled to death by the invisible water rope. After the burly man lost his life, Lin Yuan continued to control the water rope to strangle his corpse. In the blink of an eye, the corpse was almost unrecognizable. Only then did Lin Yuan let go of the man. As the only anomaly among the explorers of the mystic realm, Lin Yuan didn't expect these human cultivators to stand on his side. He was even sure that he would be excluded. If he kept silent, someone would take the initiative to expel him from this temporarily safe gathering place. Even though the burly man with the axe had messed up his thoughts even more, it just happened to give him an opportunity to make an example out of him. Before some people with ulterior motives could make things difficult for him, Lin Yuan would use his strength to shut their mouths. Black snake, how dare you! In the end, there were still some people who couldn't sit still, and a pair of cold eyes fell on Lin Yuan's face. Lin Yuan looked at the human cultivators who stood up, and the sneer on his face deepened. Among them were the embroidered uniform guards, the disciples of the Northern Frontier sects, and a few demon slayers who often wandered around the Hengduan mountain range. No matter what they thought of Lin Yuan before, Lin Yuan's identity as a Yao beast was enough reason for them to make things difficult for Lin Yuan. The Demon Slayers Association had been completely abolished by Lin Yuan. Even though the trade of Yao beast materials in the Northern Frontier continued, this lucrative business no longer had anything to do with the Demon Slayers Association. Now, almost all the people who hunted in the Yao Beast Forest were hunting teams organized by the Northern Frontier's royal residents. There were even some Yao beasts who hunted other Yao beasts in exchange for spiritual items for cultivation. The demon slayers who made a living by hunting Yao beasts were just like them. Even though Lin Yuan didn't hate them, he naturally had a trace of disgust towards them. Naturally, he wouldn't allow them to continue developing in the Northern Frontier. Following the collapse of the Demon Slayers Association, some of the demon slayers who had benefited greatly from the association had no choice but to become idle cultivators. Therefore, compared to the sects that hadn't been uprooted yet, these demon slayers hated Lin Yuan even more, the true ruler of the Northern Frontier. It was to be expected that they would make things difficult for Lin Yuan at a time like this. Stop! Stop fighting amongst yourselves. Before Lin Yuan could confront the few demon slayers who had expressed their stance, someone couldn't help but yell. Lin Yuan glanced at the person who had spoken. It was Chen Guanshan, who had taken action against the embroidered guard earlier. Lin Yuan had mixed feelings about Chen Guanshan. He felt that this person was deliberately trying to curry favor with him. However, he had only acted in secret before. Now, Chen Guanshan was openly supporting him. Naturally, the meaning behind this was different. No matter what, Chen Guanshan's words were no different from standing against the sects of the Northern Frontier and the remnants of the Northern Frontier's Demon Slayers Association. The situation had spiraled out of control. Many cultivators even felt a faint sense of despair. No one knew what would happen next. If a conflict really did erupt, Lin Yuan would only be able to escape at most. As for saving Chen Guanshan, who had spoken up for him, that would be a pipe dream. The demon slayers who had angrily rebuked Lin Yuan earlier narrowed their eyes. They said coldly, "Junior, what is the meaning of this? This Yao beast is plotting against us. It attacked and killed a member of our human race without permission. Did you not see it? Or are you saying that you are jackals of the same tribe as this Yao beast?" Chapter 326. Who was Chen Guanshan? He was a renowned master of hidden weapons in the Qingjiang dynasty. Back in the territory of the Qingjiang dynasty, Chen Guanshan's name would have easily silenced a large number of cultivators. However, in the northern frontier, Chen Guanshan's name was clearly not well known enough. Any random person would have dared to call Chen Guanshan a young man. "You called me a young man?" The corner of Chen Guanshan's mouth curled into a mocking smirk. The aura of a heavenly strength realm cultivator slowly emanated from Chen Guanshan at the very next moment. The demon slayer who had been making a ruckus earlier, stared at Chen Guanshan with wide eyes, unable to believe what he had just heard. He was just a level 9 airborne realm demon slayer. After all, he was hardly considered a big deal even in the north. Yet, a heavenly strength realm being like Chen Guanshan was more than capable of squashing him to death right there and then. After calming down and thinking for a while, the demon slayer took a deep breath and frowned. "Who are you?" As someone who had been hanging around the northern frontier for decades, he could even proudly say that there were few people he didn't know in the northern frontier. Of course, those powerful people didn't know him at all. They had only heard of him or seen him from afar. However, at that moment, he couldn't have imagined that there would be someone who looked like Chen Guanshan among the heavenly strength realm cultivators in the northern frontier. In the end, he didn't find any clues. Chen Guanshan was still not among those who were stuck at the bottleneck and could break through to the heavenly strength realm at any time. That meant that the burly young man was a cultivator from outside. But why would a cultivator from outside be on the Black Snake side? The Demon Slayer Master could not figure it out. Of course, he did not have the chance to figure it out. By the time he opened his mouth to ask, Chen Guanshan had already made his move. Moreover, his first move was an extremely terrifying killing move. Practically no one could see Chen Guanshan's hands move. Next, the Demon Slayer Master's chest was filled with sharp daggers. Hiss! A series of gasps could be heard from all around. At this moment, Chen Guanshan lifted his eyelids slightly and said expressionlessly, "There is a right and wrong. Everyone is in an extremely dangerous mystic realm. Forgive me for being blunt, but if you recklessly explore this mystic realm with your own strength, you will only die without knowing how you died. Therefore, I advise everyone to cooperate sincerely and explore this mystic realm together. It would be best if you can find the spiritual item, but if you can't, you have to find a way out." Chen Guanshan's words undoubtedly resonated with many cultivators. They could put aside their prejudices and hatred towards Lin Yuan because they didn't have the capital they used to have. In this mystic realm that was fraught with danger, any powerful combatant was a valuable asset. Instead of chasing Lin Yuan away because of some old grudge, it was better for everyone to unite and find a way out of the mystic realm. Whatever grudges they had, they could settle them after leaving this place. The cultivators all agreed and returned to their seats to rest. After all, they had all been chased by demonic beasts in the mystic realm for half a day. Apart from Lin Yuan, who was a demonic beast, only those Heaven Dipper realm experts could recover their fighting strength in a short time. This was also one of the reasons why Lin Yuan killed the axe-wielding brawny man in an instant. After everyone rested, Chen Guanshan walked over to Lin Yuan's side and sat down cross-legged. He cast a meaningful glance at Lin Yuan and even winked playfully. Previously, outside the mystic realm, and what he said just now, undoubtedly displayed Chen Guanshan's personality that didn't match his appearance. He was a person who was both sinister and clever. Lin Yuan still maintained a vigilant attitude and didn't take the initiative to speak. Black Snake, I know you are very curious now. Curious as to why I am helping you. It's just that you don't want to say it. Chen Guanshan looked as if he had seen through Lin Yuan and leisurely transmitted his voice. The faction that I came from specially invited me to the northern frontier to suppress the activities of the embroidered uniform guards and use this opportunity to put pressure on the Shenwu dynasty. This is for public reasons. And to have a good relationship with you is also very important to my plans. This is for private reasons. Enough. Before Chen Guanshan could finish speaking, Lin Yuan used his thoughts to interrupt Chen Guanshan. He narrowed his eyes and said, if you want to join the association of the Demon Emperor, you can just say it. In any case, I will not agree to it. Chen Guanshan's back was facing the crowd, but he was facing Lin Yuan. When Lin Yuan finished speaking, Chen Guanshan's expression instantly turned awkward. This was because he didn't expect that his little thoughts were completely under Lin Yuan's control. He also didn't expect that Lin Yuan would actually reject him so directly. But why? The association of the Demon Emperor was far from having enough manpower. There was only one Heaven Dipper realm existence, the Wine Sword Mystic. There was no reason to reject a Heaven Dipper realm concealed weapon expert like him. You are from the Qing River Empire. I don't know what you are thinking, and it has nothing to do with me. But I am sure that you and I are definitely not on the same side. As for the plan that you mentioned, I have a rough guess in my heart. In order to dispel those thoughts that you shouldn't have, I don't mind wasting my breath on you. In fact, you have already severed your relationship with the faction behind you. This time, they still found you and took out a bargaining chip that you couldn't reject. Or, they threatened you with the safety of the people you care about, forcing you to come to the northern frontier. So I am sure that you are very dissatisfied. Now that you are in a predicament, even if you don't say it, I am sure that you don't have much confidence in finding a way out. So the dissatisfaction in your heart has accumulated to the extreme. It can even be said that you are on the verge of exploding. At this stage, you are even thinking of taking revenge on the faction that forced you to come to the northern frontier. But obviously, you don't have enough strength, so you thought of me. You might as well use the name of the Association of the Demon Emperor on yourself. In this way, if the faction behind you wants to touch you again, they will have to think twice. Lin Yuan still squinted his eyes and said slowly in his mind, of course, your interest in the Association of the Demon Emperor is actually too great. But you understand the organizational structure of the Association of the Demon Emperor. You know very well that even I, the Demon Emperor, don't have the authority to order the members of the Association of the Demon Emperor to do things. On the contrary, the Association of the Demon Emperor adopts the method of helping each other. If any member wants other members to help him, he will have to take out a bargaining chip that is full of sincerity. Otherwise, the Association of the Demon Emperor can completely ignore it. Rather than saying that you are interested in the potential of the Association of the Demon Emperor, it is better to say that you are interested in the freedom of the Association of the Demon Emperor. Chapter 327. Lin Yuan's words were not unreasonable. The Northern Territory Chamber of Commerce did not only threaten the Shenwu dynasty. With the Northern Territory Chamber of Commerce's existence, the goods of the 7 dynasties could all flow through the Hengduan Mountains. It was much more convenient and safer than going around the Hengduan Mountains and passing through several dynasties to reach their destination. Therefore, the Northern Territory Chamber of Commerce's behavior not only brought more benefits to the northern frontier, but also brought benefits to the 7 dynasties. If any of the 7 dynasties offended Lin Yuan, the Northern Region Chamber of Commerce would only have to give up a portion of their profits. However, this dynasty would need 3 to 5 times the time to conduct trade activities. If this situation persisted for a long time, the Northern Region Chamber of Commerce would soon be left far behind by the other 6 dynasties in terms of economy. Although the Shifter Emperor Association was a shady organization, no one in the 7 dynasties dared to offend someone like Lin Yuan. Even the Shenwu dynasty had to do things in secret. Otherwise, it would be easy for their economy to collapse, making their already poor treasury even worse. Then Chen Guanshan's eyes were wide open as he still tried to persuade Lin Yuan to change his mind. However, Lin Yuan only narrowed his eyes slightly and replied casually, if you just want to join the Shifter Emperor Association, then I have nothing to say. However, your thoughts are not limited to just this, right? This, Chen Guanshan was speechless again. He did not expect this black snake to be so proficient in manipulating people's minds. At this moment, Chen Guanshan even felt cold sweat seeping out of his back. It was as if Lin Yuan had seen through him completely. I advise you to put away those unrealistic thoughts. The Shifter Emperor Association's operation model is indeed good, but the other 6 dynasties are all deeply rooted. There is no room for the association to grow at all, unlike now where I can casually summon a large group of people who are dissatisfied with the Xinwu dynasty. Other than the demi-humans and criminals, even the disciples and officials of the Wanjian dynasty have expressed their support for us. This condition is not available in the other 6 dynasties, so the Northern Territory Chamber of Commerce can do business there. However, once the association enters the territories of the other 6 dynasties, it will be quickly monitored. If you rope in the criminals and demi-humans of the Qingjiang dynasty to establish a branch of the association, then what awaits you will be the cruelest attack from the Qingjiang dynasty. Lin Yuan's heterochromatic eyes flashed. Chen Guanshan could not understand what he was thinking at all. However, Chen Guanshan had to agree because Lin Yuan's words were indeed reasonable. The association of the Shifter Emperor seemed to be loose, but it was actually very united. Their muzzles were all aimed at the Xinwu dynasty. Back then, the Xinwu dynasty did not take the association of the Shifter Emperor seriously, so now they had lost the northern frontier. Even the cities bordering the northern frontier had begun to be infiltrated by the Northern Territory Chamber of Commerce and the Association of the Shifter Emperor. In the past, the economic center was in the imperial capital, in the south along the coast, so it was normal for the country to be prosperous and the people to be at peace. However, the Xinwu dynasty was now at war on 4 fronts. Even if the Hengduan Mountains and the dragon palaces of the 4 seas had stopped attacking the Xinwu dynasty, the northern frontier had already fallen into Lin Yuan's control. What belonged to the Xinwu dynasty was only left in name. The rich south was also riddled with holes after being attacked by the sea monsters under the dragon palaces of the 4 seas. Now that the south could not even take care of itself, how could they have the leisure to support other cities? In this way, the northern frontier, which could create a lot of benefits, naturally became a delicious piece of cake in the eyes of the various city lords and aristocratic families. Even the sects and forces that were not within Lin Yuan's sphere of influence were welcoming of the association of the Shifter Emperor and the Northern Territory Chamber of Commerce. Although Lin Yuan had been hiding in the northern frontier during this period of time, if he were to really take action, the Qingping king who had hundreds of thousands of soldiers could be easily defeated. However, Lin Yuan obviously did not have the intention to be a minister, so naturally, he would not share Lei Qiusheng's burden. With the Xinwu dynasty as an example, even if the kings of the other 6 dynasties were stupid, they would not allow the association of the Shifter Emperor or similar organizations to take root and sprout in their own territories. Therefore, Lin Yuan could use the northern frontier as a foundation to slowly radiate his power to the surroundings. However, if Chen Guanshan wanted to use the northern frontier as a pretense to establish a branch of the association of the Shifter Emperor in the territories of other dynasties, it was undoubtedly an act of suicide. Once Chen Guanshan did so, the other 6 dynasties would not only attack him immediately, but they would also directly block the outflow of foreign trade to the Northern Territory Chamber of Commerce, minimizing the benefits that Lin Yuan could obtain as much as possible. Phew! Lin Yuan let out a long breath, tilted his head and said, "In short, if you want to stay in the northern frontier and join the association of the Shifter Emperor, I welcome you. However, if you want to borrow my banner and establish your own association of the Shifter Emperor, then I will be the first to crusade against you." Chen Guanshan's expression was uncertain, but he just nodded silently, indicating that he understood. Although he was unwilling, Lin Yuan had already made it very clear to him, and those ideas in his heart were destined to not become reality. Therefore, he could only put his attention on the urgent matter at hand, to find the exit. The existence of this secret realm had been discovered by the embroidered uniform guard. Even though the ordinary cultivators didn't know about it, the cultivators with a bit of knowledge had already surrounded the woman surnamed Zhan and the embroidered uniform guard under her command. Pairs of furious eyes were fixed on them, as if they wanted an explanation. Chen Guanshan let out a sigh, cupped his hands at Lin Yuan, and walked towards the woman surnamed Zhan. Seeing Chen Guanshan's back gradually getting further and further away, Lin Yuan let out a long sigh. Not to mention that the plan to establish a branch of the association of the Shifter Emperor was impossible. Even if it could be done, Lin Yuan would not agree. After all, If the branch of the Association of the Shifter Emperor was established by Chen Guanshan, then when Lin Yuan's influence expanded to the territory of the Azure River Empire one day, would this branch of the Association of the Shifter Emperor listen to Lin Yuan or Chen Guanshan? The organization was loose, but just like when he dealt with the remnants of the Jiao clan, Lin Yuan could casually gather the members of the Association of the Shifter Emperor to work for him, and what he needed to pay was just a little benefit that slipped through the fingers of the system. This simple condition was not something that anyone could casually pay. The Association of the Shifter Emperor seemed to be free now, but in fact, it was completely under Lin Yuan's control. Therefore, he did not wish for the Association of the Shifter Emperor to gradually degenerate into an organization that even he felt unfamiliar with, and even more so, did not wish for existences like Chen Guanshan and Li Guanshan, who tried to use the name of the Association of the Shifter Emperor to seek benefits for themselves. Chapter 328. Let's not talk about Chen Guanshan's thoughts. At this moment, the one with the most complicated feelings was none other than the woman surnamed Zhan. After all, they were surrounded by a group of cultivators. Although no one said anything, she knew that this secret realm was so dangerous and terrifying. As the embroidered uniform god who spread the news, if they didn't give an explanation, it would be very difficult for them to get out of here alive. But an explanation? What kind of explanation was that? Even now, she was still in a state of confusion. She had no idea how things had turned out like this. The situation in the secret realm that the embroidered uniform guard had explored was completely different from this one. If she had known that this secret realm was so dangerous, she would have only needed to lure the black snake in. Why would she have come? Swish swish swish, swish swish swish. It wasn't some cultivator's angry roar that broke the silence, nor was it the woman surnamed Zhan's explanation. Instead, it was a series of strange sounds. When everyone turned their heads, they discovered that a large school of silver-white fish had swum back. In reality, when they had just arrived here, the group of silver-white fish had already attacked them more than once. It was just a group of Wisdom Realm Level 4 fiend beasts. Even if they had an absolute advantage in numbers, these small silver-white fish still weren't a match for cultivators who had reached a certain level of numbers. That was why their previous attacks were easily repelled. But now that the silver-white fish had returned, they clearly weren't as easy to deal with as before. According to the system's notification, there were even quite a few elite experts of Wisdom Realm Level 6 and Level 8 in this school of silver-white fish. And in the huge school of fish that stretched for at least several thousand meters, there were even 2 peak Wisdom Realm Fish Kings. In terms of pure strength, the school of fish that had chased after Lin Yuan's group wasn't even worthy of carrying the shoes of this school of fish. Prepare for battle. A cultivator pulled out the saber at his waist. Even though it was inconvenient to brandish it underwater, everyone present knew how terrifying the silver-white fish were. That was why even those who were extremely confident in their physical strength chose to use all kinds of weapons at this moment. Otherwise, it would be easy for them to lose some parts of their bodies as they fought. In the face of a great enemy, private conflicts could no longer erupt. No one could say whether or not they would be able to survive the end of this battle. But at this moment, if they didn't fight, they would die. Only by fighting would they have a chance of survival. The cultivators all pulled out their weapons and waited, their eyes occasionally stopping on those large silver fish that were much larger than normal small silver fish, as if they wanted to deduce what cultivation realm these new fiend beasts were in. However, they didn't have the system after all, so based on their auras, they could only determine that these fiend beasts were still in Wisdom Realm. After a moment of silence, Lin Yuan took the initiative to say, "The silver fish that are 1 foot long are at the 4th level of wisdom perception, those that are about 3 feet long are at the 6th level of wisdom perception, and those that are 7 feet long are at the 8th level of wisdom perception. Be careful. There are 2 powerful auras in this school of fish that aren't inferior to mine. It's just that I haven't found them yet." Almost on par with Lin Yuan? The cultivators looked at each other in dismay. Although most of them hadn't seen Lin Yuan fight with his full strength, Lin Yuan's killing of the desolate demon realm's Fire Kirin was something that everyone knew. Even if Lin Yuan took advantage of the fact that the Fire Kirin was injured and weak, he should still be around the 10th level of wisdom perception. In other words, in this school of fish, there were at least 2 terrifying 10th level fiend beasts. Just as everyone was on high alert, Lin Yuan suddenly received a telepathic message. "As fiend beasts, why are you helping these damned humans?" Before this, he hadn't communicated with the water serpent and the flying serpent. Now that he was facing a school of small silver fish, the other party actually took the initiative to communicate with Lin Yuan. Lin Yuan couldn't help but be dazed for a moment, but very quickly, Lin Yuan locked onto a large fish that was about 3 meters long hidden in the school of fish. It was clearly one of the 10th level of wisdom perception. Faced with the other party's question, Lin Yuan only sneered and coldly replied, "That's right, it's true that you and I are both fiend beasts, but the way your fiend beasts chased after me before, they didn't treat me as one of them." Trying to rope in Lin Yuan just because they were both fiend beasts? To put it bluntly, even if all of the cultivators here were added together, it probably wouldn't be enough to feed this school of fish. After killing these humans, these so-called fellow fiend beasts would make a move on him. Even though Lin Yuan had been a fiend beast for more than a year, his memories of being a human hadn't been erased. He understood the principle of interdependence, so he didn't continue to use telepathy to communicate with the other party at all. As he spoke, he used his serpent tail to point out the location of this fish king that took the initiative to communicate with him. Seeing Lin Yuan so cooperative, many of the cultivators who were worried that Lin Yuan would stab them in the back all sighed in relief. "Humph, then you deserve to die." The Fish King was clearly greatly angered by Lin Yuan's actions. After a cold snort, it commanded the school of fish around it to start gathering towards the cultivators. Large mouths continuously opened and closed as they tore at the cultivators. In the clear water, they could even clearly see a few sharp teeth in these small silver fishes' mouths. The small silver fishes' speed was very fast. In almost an instant, they came into contact with the humans standing at the very front. Lin Yuan controlled the water to kill a school of small silver fish, at the same time saving a few cultivators who seemed to have been scared out of their wits. Only then did he say in a low voice, "These fiend beasts aren't that big of a deal, it's just that there are a lot of them. Everyone work harder, we'll be able to kill them all very quickly." After being reminded by Lin Yuan, some of the cultivators who were scared out of their wits seemed to have woken up from a dream. They began to brandish their weapons to attack the small silver fish that approached them. The situation of the battle quickly became tense. However, to Lin Yuan, ordinary wisdom state level 4 silverfish couldn't bring him any attribute points. Other than saving a few cultivators, Lin Yuan's main targets were still those level 6 and level 8 fellows. Although it was only 0, 1 or 0, 3 attribute points, it was better than wasting his efforts. On the other hand, the 2 fish kings had been hiding in the back. They didn't come up to fight with the cultivators, nor did they have any intention of fighting with Lin Yuan. Only now did Lin Yuan suddenly realize that the fiend beasts in the secret realm seemed to be strange. Regardless of whether it was the water serpent that was secretly protecting him or the fish king that took the initiative to communicate with him, the fiend beasts in this secret realm clearly had their own thoughts. However, what was strange was that the fiend beasts in this secret realm didn't seem to be proficient in battle. Whether it was these small silver fish, the water serpent, or the flying serpent, they all only knew how to use brute force. Chapter 329. The inside and outside of the secret realm were like 2 different worlds. The demonic beasts of the secret realm were more like demonic beasts. They disdained to interact with other demonic beasts, even if it was their own kind. They also didn't scheme. Compared to those mysterious innate talents, they seemed to have more faith in their physical strength. Although Lin Yuan did not see these demonic beasts of the secret territory display their innate ability, even though he controlled the water flow to wantonly strangle those small silver fish, the opposing fish king still had no intention of controlling the power of the water flow to fight with Lin Yuan. It just watched coldly from the side. The fish king's question seemed to have been asked out of curiosity, not to pull Lin Yuan into its camp. They were all demonic beasts, so why should they help humans? It was hard to say how long this secret realm had existed, but the demonic beast's attitude towards humans was similar to the demonic beast's attitude towards humans before they had unified the Tianwu continent. Their contempt and disdain wasn't something that could be casually feigned. After all, the demonic beasts of the Tianwu continent didn't dare to act tough when they saw humans in the depths of the Hengduan mountain range. This secret realm really did seem to have been created by some almighty expert in ancient times. That almighty expert had probably seen a glimpse of the future through the friction between demonic beasts and humans. That was why he had created this secret realm. His goal was to ensure that the demonic beast's bloodline continued to flourish. These demonic beasts were most likely the descendants of that almighty expert. They had stayed in this fake secret realm that didn't see the light of day and had lost contact with the outside world. That was why they didn't know the relationship between the demonic beasts of the Tianwu continent and humans. If that was the case, Lin Yuan's eyes suddenly lit up with fervor. If it really was as he had guessed, then the secret realm that the embroidered uniform guard had discovered was real. However, the secret realm had been split into different regions by that almighty expert. Adding on the fact that they had been randomly teleported into the secret realm, they naturally wouldn't be able to find that almighty expert's hidden treasure. The value of this secret realm might be even higher than what the embroidered uniform guard had expected. Aside from the demonic beasts that had been born in this secret realm, there might also be the legacy and inheritance of that almighty expert. Taking a deep breath, Lin Yuan calmed himself down. The fervor in his eyes dissipated a little. He still needed more evidence to determine if it was the same as what he had speculated, but there was still an urgent matter to deal with right now. Of course, the cultivators who could enter the secret zone were no ordinary people. As a result, even though they had been shocked by the momentum of the countless silverfish's charge, they had already adapted to the silverfish's rhythm. Moreover, they relied on their higher cultivation to directly unleash various techniques. In the blink of an eye, swathes of silverfish were killed. A large amount of blood mist practically dyed the clear water red. However, it wasn't as if the humans didn't suffer any losses. In just a short while, the number of human cultivators who had died to the silverfish's sharp teeth had already exceeded 2 digits. That was almost a sixth of the total number of human cultivators present. Licking his lips, Lin Yuan swung his serpent tail, causing a few silverfish that had circled around him to explode. He was still controlling the water flow to kill the silverfish, but the frequency at which he did so was no longer as terrifying as before. He only saved a few human cultivators at critical moments. Moreover, most of them were disciples of aristocratic families. A few of them were foreign cultivators, and none of them held any enmity towards Lin Yuan. Lin Yuan was naturally confident that he could escape unscathed from the encirclement of the silver fish. If worse came to worst, he could just run to the neighboring water WM's territory and hide there. So, what did the lives of those cultivators who had old grudges with him have to do with him? It would already be good enough if Lin Yuan didn't take advantage of this opportunity to kill them. Chen Guanshan took a deep breath and threw out a cold light with a flick of his hand. In almost an instant, he killed a small shoal of hundreds of silver fish. Then, his gaze paused on Lin Yuan for a moment. Suddenly, a look of understanding flashed across his eyes. The short conversation he had with Lin Yuan before had already made him understand that this black snake's intelligence wasn't low. His grasp of the human heart was an existence that made those scheming strategists gasp in admiration. Therefore, when Lin Yuan suddenly switched from being the main attacker to a support, Lin Yuan must have discovered something and was deliberately eliminating dissidents. Chen Guanshan wasn't the only one who noticed Lin Yuan's abnormal behavior. However, the majority of people thought that this black snake's strength was insufficient and couldn't maintain its previous might. When they saw that the black snake was still protecting the cultivators among them who were in danger because of their carelessness or inability to take care of everything, they didn't continue to pay attention to it. This black snake. The woman surnamed Zhan also noticed Lin Yuan's abnormality. Moreover, she didn't dismiss it with a smile. Instead, she seriously observed Lin Yuan for a moment and instantly clenched her teeth. At the beginning, this guy was crazily attacking the shoal of silver fish while also taking care of the cultivators who were in danger. Now, he was attacking the shoal of silver fish from time to time, and was deliberately relaxing his protection of the Demon Slayer Master and the sect's disciples. This black snake was clearly doing this on purpose. The only thing the woman surnamed Zhan couldn't figure out was that Lin Yuan had clearly started to eliminate dissidents. Why was the embroidered uniform guard still under Lin Yuan's protection? The woman surnamed Zhan knew that there must be a reason for this abnormality since she was young. Now, the black snake's strange behavior had caused her to be even more vigilant. However, Lin Yuan didn't have any intention of paying attention to the woman surnamed Zhan. He didn't even feel like looking at her. Although he knew that this woman definitely had the most detailed information in her hands, among all the members of the embroidered uniform guard, the woman surnamed Zhan was absolutely the least likely to cooperate with him. Taking a step back, even if the woman surnamed Zhan was willing to cooperate with him, Lin Yuan still had to first consider whether this woman who could casually turn her husband into a bait to lure her into a trap was worthy of his trust. At this moment, The woman surnamed Zhan, who had been watching Lin Yuan all this time, suddenly discovered that Lin Yuan seemed to have sensed her gaze. He turned his head and looked at her in the eye. Then, he very naturally revealed a wisp of a smile. The woman surnamed Zhan didn't know how to describe this smile. She only felt that Lin Yuan's smile was like a steel knife ruthlessly stabbing into her heart. She inexplicably felt a kind of uneasy feeling. In the next moment, before she could react, the cry of her subordinates rang in her ears. When she turned her head and looked towards the source of the sound, she discovered that a huge figure close to 3 meters in height was floating in front of her. Chapter 330. The Fish King. A level 10 Wisdom Realm Fish King. The Zhan woman looked at the huge Fish King in front of her, and a look of panic flashed in her eyes. It was especially so when her face was reflected in those scarlet eyes of the Fish King. The Zhan woman seemed to have smelled the scent of death. Crack! It only took an instant. The Zhan woman didn't even have the chance to call for help. She was directly cut in half by the Fish King's sharp teeth. The Fish King chewed the half of the corpse in its mouth twice, and a look of excitement flashed in its scarlet eyes. It seemed that the flesh and blood of humans brought it great pleasure. Lin Yuan had never eaten a human before, and there was no need for him to do so. After all, while flesh and blood could provide him with energy for cultivation, after the system extracted the attribute points once, the energy contained in flesh and blood was almost negligible. Therefore, Lin Yuan usually ate to fill his stomach. Eating humans was something that was unacceptable to an existence with a human soul. Therefore, Lin Yuan had no idea what the Fish King was so excited about. However, when the Fish King ate the Zhan woman, Lin Yuan subconsciously began to mobilize all the muscles in his body. After all, the Fish King's strange speed of shuttling through the battlefield as if it was in no man's land was enough to make Lin Yuan very vigilant. Therefore, in a battle, especially a fierce one, even a moment of distraction could make one pay a bloody price. The Zhan woman was a classic example of what not to do. Although she was no match for the Fish King in a head-on battle with her strength at level 9 airborne realm, at the very least, she wouldn't have died in such a humiliating way. With the help of the other members of the embroidered guard, she wouldn't have had any problems keeping herself alive, even if she couldn't kill the Fish King. The Fish King shook its body, and its eyes paused on Lin Yuan for a moment. It suddenly opened its bloody mouth and sneered at Lin Yuan. It was as if it was announcing that Lin Yuan was its next prey. Chen Guanshan was silent for a moment. With a gentle shake of his right hand, a black rope suddenly appeared under his wrist and wrapped around the Fish King. A faint murderous aura circulated between his brows, making him look like a murderous devil. He had seen the Fish King shuttling through the battlefield and appearing behind the Zhan woman. Even he couldn't guarantee that he would be able to escape unscathed from the Fish King's strange speed. But now that the Fish King had targeted Lin Yuan, he had no choice but to take action. The black rope wrapped around the Fish King's tail, and the corners of Chen Guanshan's mouth curled up slightly. It was as if 2 sharp blades were unsheathed to welcome his enemy. The next moment, Chen Guanshan's Heaven Dipper realm momentum broke out instantly. Even Lin Yuan was shocked by his fierce momentum and narrowed his eyes slightly. Next, Chen Guanshan pulled the black rope with one hand, and the other hand touched his waist. A bright and dazzling light suddenly swept out from his waist, like the bright moon in the sky rotating out. The Fish King didn't even have time to react before it was ruthlessly hit by the dazzling light. The next moment, the scales on the left side of the Fish King's body scattered in all directions, and its flesh and blood curled up. More than half of its body was actually cut open. The entire battlefield instantly quieted down. Every time Chen Guanshan attacked, he could kill a large number of fish. But for a Heaven Dipper realm expert, this kind of action was at most a basic move. But at this moment, Chen Guanshan's move caused the other Heaven Dipper realm experts present to be secretly shocked. They secretly compared themselves to the Fish King and suddenly realized that they couldn't dodge this attack at all. However, demonic beasts were demonic beasts after all. The strength of their physiques was far beyond the imagination of ordinary people, and this was even more so for secret realm demonic beasts. These small silverfish had a speed not inferior to Lin Yuan's, even though they were only at the 4th level of the Wisdom Perception realm. And yet, the Wisdom Perception realm 10th level Fish King could easily shuttle through the chaotic battlefield, pass through hundreds of cultivators, and kill the Zhan woman in a mocking manner. This was enough to prove the tyrannical strength of a secret realm demonic beast's physique. Chen Guanshan's attack was very terrifying. Even Lin Yuan couldn't help but admit that other than a monster like him who cultivated the golden body technique, ordinary wisdom perception realm 10th level demonic beasts would basically lose their lives if they encountered this kind of attack. After all, the demonic beasts of the Tianwu continent had long neglected the tempering of their physique. Their cultivation methods were more similar to the human world, and they were more proficient in using their innate abilities. Lin Yuan was no exception. However, secret realm demonic beasts were different. They didn't rely on their innate abilities at all. They were more confident in their physique. Although Chen Guanshan's attack had caused the Fish King's flesh to split open, and it was heavily injured, the Fish King only paused for a moment before the wounds on its body began to heal at a speed visible to the naked eye. Countless granules squirmed on both sides of the wounds. Its terrifying self-healing ability was even comparable to that of the Inferno demonic beasts that Lin Yuan had encountered before. However, the Inferno demonic beasts simply didn't suffer a fatal blow. Therefore, the Fish King's self-healing ability was much stronger than that of the Inferno demonic beasts. You really do have some skills. Chen Guanshan whispered softly, and it sounded like he was sighing. Although he had already guessed that the Fish King wouldn't be easy to deal with, he didn't think that the Fish King would have such a terrifying self-healing ability in addition to its extreme speed. In the following battle, if he couldn't directly kill the Fish King with his attacks, then he definitely wouldn't be able to kill the Fish King. He might even be dragged to death by the Fish King. At this moment, the light that injured the Fish King returned to Chen Guanshan's hand, revealing its true appearance. It was a scimitar. Unlike the scimitars of the Xinwu dynasty, the Xinwu dynasty's scimitars were only slightly curved to make it easier to cut through the enemy's body when charging. However, the scimitar in Chen Guanshan's hand was completely different. It was almost C-shaped, and this kind of sharp blade was naturally suited for cavalry battles. As long as the horse was fast enough, this scimitar could easily cut off the head of any enemy. However, it was unavoidably laughable to use this kind of scimitar in a ground battle. A single misuse could easily injure the user. Anyone who was slightly familiar with weapons would easily associate it with the Shuangjian dynasty's scimitars. Those existences known as grassland barbarians were accustomed to using these scimitars. Every winter, they would harvest the heads of soldiers and villagers at the borders of the empire, and laughingly bring back their spoils of war to their own tribes. Although the Shuangjian dynasty didn't lack these things, they liked to use this kind of behavior as a way to celebrate the arrival of the new year. After Chen Guanshan revealed this scimitar, the other cultivators more or less revealed hostility when their twilight lights landed on him. Chapter 331. If one were to talk about popularity, the barbarians of the Shuangjian dynasty were the least liked. Chen Guanshan maintained a sneer on his face when he sensed the hostile gazes around him. He had no intention of explaining himself. The Fish King turned its head and glanced at Chen Guanshan. A murderous intent flashed in its scarlet eyes. Although its body was strong enough to withstand Chen Guanshan's attack, the feeling of being almost torn apart was not a pleasant one. Therefore, when the Fish King saw the sneer on Chen Guanshan's face at the moment, it immediately became angrier. Chen Guanshan's movements suddenly froze when he sensed the aura emanating from the Fish King. A thin layer of cold sweat even appeared on his forehead. Chen Guanshan clenched his teeth and all the muscles in his body instantly tensed up. He did his best to resist the cold murderous intent coming from the Fish King. Lin Yuan saw that the situation was not good. He appeared beside Chen Guanshan in a flash. His heterochromatic eyes also fell on the Fish King. Wisps of dragon might emanated from his body, counteracting the murderous intent on the Fish King. The two Fish Kings entered the battlefield one after the other. The Heaven's Strength Realm experts, who had been keeping quiet, could no longer sit still. They had no choice but to roll up their sleeves and fight the other Fish King with their best skills. After all, if they left the Fish King alone, it was obvious that it was enough to cause great casualties to the airborne realm cultivators on the front lines. In this unknown secret realm, anyone's hands were precious. Even if they were just going out to scout, they could still pave a safe way out by sacrificing their lives. That black rope of yours is... A look of surprise flashed in Lin Yuan's eyes as he asked. Someone like Chen Guanshan would not do anything unnecessary. Since he tied the black rope to the Fish King's tail before he made his move, that black rope must have its own function. War shackles. I got it from the black market. Chen Guanshan replied with a smile. Then, his eyes suddenly turned cold. He said in a cold voice, "Once the war chain is wrapped around the combatants, it will end in a fight to the death. Otherwise, no one will be able to untie this black rope. Similarly, no one will be able to leave the range of this black rope." Lin Yuan raised his eyelids to express his understanding. Although the shackles of strife had many drawbacks, it was still a good strategy against an opponent who excelled in speed. It was just that the price of fighting to the death was too great. If not for the fact that the Fish King's target was Lin Yuan and that Chen Guanshan had stopped the Fish King, Lin Yuan might not have interfered. From the moment Chen Guanshan made his move, he was betting that Lin Yuan would not stand by and do nothing. Human nature was complicated, let alone a demonic beast with an unstable mind. The fact that Chen Guanshan could trust Lin Yuan, a demonic beast, was beyond Lin Yuan's expectations. However, while Lin Yuan was still pondering, a black shadow suddenly swept over in front of him. Lin Yuan subconsciously swung his snake tail fiercely. The Fish King clearly did not expect Lin Yuan's reaction to be so fast. In addition, it was moving at such a high speed that it could not dodge at all. It could only take the full brunt of Lin Yuan's snake tail. The snake tail was like a steel whip as it lashed the Fish King's body. Immediately, that huge fish head caved in. 1/3 of the entire skull was sunken, but such an injury did not take the life of the Fish King. The silver-white fish body struggled frantically, and the swinging tail slapped with a terrifying force. Even if Lin Yuan wanted to give the Fish King another stab, he could not get close to it, so he had to look at Chen Guanshan. Chen Guanshan shrugged his shoulders, and an apologetic smile appeared on his face. It was true that he was proficient in hidden weapons, but he had used all his strength to injure the Fish King. Right now, he did not have much strength left, and his earth chi had been squeezed to the point that not a single drop was left. If not for that, how could he have been frozen by the Fish King's cold-killing intent? As time passed, the Fish King's injuries healed bit by bit, and the extent of its struggling also slowed down. Lin Yuan saw the opportunity, and his snake body shot out like a bolt of lightning. Its bloody mouth opened wide, and its pair of poisonous fangs flickered with a frightening cold light. It was not that he did not want to use his innate ability to kill the Fish King. However, even if Lin Yuan did not use his innate ability, the Fish King, as a water-type monster, would naturally be on guard against the move that Lin Yuan had used to kill so many small silver-white fish. Thus, Lin Yuan could not control the water around the Fish King at all. Naturally, he could not control the water around the Fish King as he wished. The moment Lin Yuan's fangs were about to reach the Fish King's injuries had completely healed. With a swing of its tail, it once again pulled away from Lin Yuan. Its scarlet eyes carried a hint of mockery, as if it knew all about Lin Yuan's little trick. In the next moment, the war chain in Chen Guanshan's hand was stretched taut. However, no matter how the Fish King moved its body, it could only maintain a distance of less than 100 meters from Chen Guanshan. At this moment, the Fish King's eyes revealed a hint of urgency. After that short exchange, it had already confirmed that it was no match for Lin Yuan. Thus, the Fish King planned to temporarily leave this damned place and wait for a chance to take revenge in the future. However, it did not expect that it could not escape the control of the war chain at all. As Lin Yuan and Chen Guanshan's conversation had been carried out using their minds, the Fish King actually did not know what was restricting it. However, this did not mean that the Fish King was stupid. The black rope on its body was stretched taut, and it was probably because of the black rope that it couldn't move more than 100 meters away from it. Therefore, the Fish King quickly fixed its gaze on Chen Guanshan. Chen Guanshan shook the black rope in his hand, and a dangerous smile appeared on his face. He said in a cold voice, "Big fish, we are now enemies. If you don't kill me, don't even think about leaving this area." The Fish King's eyes turned cold. Just as it was about to attack, its gaze stopped on Lin Yuan. This black snake was more difficult to deal with than it had imagined. "Black Snake, you and I are both demonic beasts. We should help each other. Why help these humans?" The Fish King moved its gaze away from Chen Guanshan and said slowly, "Helping these humans is of no benefit to you. This king can give you another chance. As long as you are willing to leave this battlefield, this king will pretend that nothing happened. How about it? If we are fated to meet again in the future, this king can even give you a big gift." Using righteousness and enticement was a trick that had been used many times outside. However, when the Fish King used it, Lin Yuan did not feel strange at all. It was as if this was what the Fish King should do. Chapter 332. Demonic beasts in the mystic realm weren't stupid, they were just arrogant. The Fish King had been so confident in its victory that it didn't even care about Lin Yuan's battle prowess. But now that it was forced into a corner, if the Fish King still didn't know how to rope in Lin Yuan, it probably wouldn't be able to live long enough to become an intelligence realm class 10 demonic beast. Chen Guanshan sneered as he sized up the Fish King. The mockery in his eyes was almost tangible. He carefully investigated the black serpent. Unlike the condescending investigation of the embroidered guard, he put himself in the black serpent's perspective and pondered little by little. The final conclusion was that the black serpent was a terrifying existence because it never did unnecessary things. For example, at this moment, if Lin Yuan intended to join forces with the Fish King, it would not have chosen to stand on the side of humans from the beginning. Now that the Fish King was at a disadvantage, it was even more impossible for Lin Yuan to stand on its side. Lin Yuan didn't respond to the Fish King, nor did he have any intention of speaking. He just stood quietly beside Chen Guanshan. A Heaven Star Border Realm cultivator's recovery speed was very fast. In about 7 or 8 breaths, Chen Guanshan would be able to recover some of his battle prowess. At that time, it would be easy for them to join forces and kill the Fish King. And with Chen Guanshan's help, Lin Yuan's following arrangements would be much smoother. As for the Fish King, it was just a verbal agreement. Once Lin Yuan helped them win the battle, it wouldn't be impossible for them to treat Lin Yuan as food. After all, in the world of demonic beasts, the strong preyed on the weak. Dead existences were quickly forgotten and wouldn't affect the victor at all. Black Serpent, I can sense the Flood Dragon's bloodline in your body. As long as you help me, I swear on my cultivation that I will help you break through the bloodline shackles and become a true Flood Dragon. How about it? Seeing that Lin Yuan wasn't moved, the Fish King quickly threw out its biggest bargaining chip. This mystic realm had a way to transform a dragon bloodline demonic beast into a flood dragon. Lin Yuan was certain of this. After all, there were at least 7 or 8 flood dragons in the territory next to the Fish King. This bloodline shackle wasn't something that could be broken so easily. Suddenly, Lin Yuan's breathing quickened. However, Lin Yuan quickly regained his composure. The opportunity to transform into a flood dragon had always been in his hands. Although the woman surnamed Zhen and her husband were dead, and the previous mission had disappeared from the mission list, after the incense model was activated, as long as he accumulated believers and accumulated more incense power, the system would inevitably unlock various sub-functions for him to consume incense power. Therefore, Lin Yuan was not in a hurry at all. Have you rested well? After calming down, Lin Yuan looked at Chen Guanshan and asked softly. Chen Guanshan pondered for a moment, then slowly nodded and said, I still have the strength for one more attack. Moreover, my body has absorbed enough spiritual energy to reach saturation. If this attack doesn't hit, don't count on me. A Heaven's Dipper realm cultivator could absorb spiritual energy from heaven and earth constantly to replenish themselves. However, there was always a limit to the amount of spiritual energy they could absorb. If Chen Guanshan consumed spiritual energy to temper his body and meridians bit by bit, it would be fine. However, in this kind of high-intensity battle, Chen Guanshan had absorbed an enormous amount of spiritual energy from heaven and earth. It had even reached a state where his meridians were somewhat overloaded. If he recklessly continued to absorb spiritual energy, then his meridians would very likely collapse and he would directly be reduced to a cripple. The strength for one attack was already something he gritted his teeth and speculated. He was even taking a huge risk. The slightest carelessness could cause his meridians to collapse. However, the Fish King threw out such a huge bargaining chip. If he didn't do as Lin Yuan wished, then Lin Yuan might really give up on his cooperation with the Fish King. Enough! Lin Yuan nodded slightly and softly muttered. As his voice fell, Lin Yuan's snake body shot out like an arrow. The Fish King's speed was indeed very fast. Without entering the state of blood boil, Lin Yuan really didn't have much confidence in catching up to the Fish King. However, the Fish King's range of movement was restricted by the war chain. This was a different situation. Chen Guanshan still had the strength for one more attack. If the Fish King rashly approached Chen Guanshan, it would definitely be heavily injured by this attack. At that time, Lin Yuan could easily kill it. Just like how there was a limit to the amount of spiritual energy Chen Guanshan could absorb, Lin Yuan didn't believe that the Fish King's terrifying self-healing ability had no limit. This king hasn't said anything yet. Do you really think this king is a small fry that you can order around? A pair of heterochromatic vertical pupils fixed on the Fish King. Lin Yuan's pupils blossomed with a golden light. His ice-cold voice contained an unquestionable majesty. Most of the silver fish had been killed by the cultivators. The other Fish King, who had broken out with extreme speed and barely escaped from the encirclement of several Heavenly Dipper realm cultivators, retreated for a distance under the leadership of the other Fish King. Although they were still eyeing this side covetously, everyone could see that the battle between Lin Yuan and the Fish King had decided the following situation. If the Fish King died here, then even if the Fish King was unwilling, they would have to retreat and regroup. However, if the Fish King killed Chen Guanshan under Lin Yuan's nose and successfully broke out of the encirclement, then their every move would be closely watched by these silver fish. If they revealed a little flaw, they would be attacked by these two Fish Kings using their strange speed. When the Fish King saw Lin Yuan rush over, its scarlet eyes flashed with a trace of surprise. After all, for an existence like Lin Yuan, who was only a step away from transforming into a flood dragon, it wasn't very likely that he would give up on the suggestion it gave him. Unless this black snake grasped the method to transform into a flood dragon. However, the Fish King only hesitated for a moment. When it saw Lin Yuan rush over, its eyes clearly revealed a trace of disdain. Its figure flashed, instantly disappearing from its original spot, only leaving behind an afterimage. Lin Yuan didn't get angry that he missed. Looking at the Fish King that was constantly teasing him with afterimages, Lin Yuan decided to no longer look at the Fish King's location. Instead, he focused on the war chain connecting the Fish King and Chen Guanshan. The snake coiled around the war chain. Lin Yuan slowly crawled forward. If the mountain doesn't come to me, then I'll go to the mountain. If this was the Fish King in its free state, Lin Yuan might have already activated the blood boil technique. However, the Fish King was clearly already in his bag. The shackles of war, which had been pulled taut, suddenly went limp. Even though Lin Yuan couldn't see the Fish King that was moving at high speed, he was certain that the Fish King definitely saw the distance between him and Chen Guanshan increase, so it wanted to use this opportunity to turn around and kill Chen Guanshan. It was precisely because the distance between the two sides had decreased that the war chain was in this state. Chapter 333. However, there was no panic in Lin Yuan's eyes. Chen Guanshan was not an existence that could be trampled on. He knew what the Fish King was scheming. It wanted to use this opportunity to get closer to Chen Guanshan. If it could change its speed at the right time, it might be able to grasp the rhythm of the battle and trick Chen Guanshan into making the final attack. Then, it could kill Chen Guanshan before Lin Yuan caught up and break the shackles of war on it. It's about time. Lin Yuan, the Fish King, and Chen Guanshan silently calculated the time in their minds. The scimitar in Chen Guanshan's hand lit up with a dazzling light. Although he still couldn't see the Fish King's figure, Chen Guanshan was certain that the Fish King was right in front of him. The Fish King narrowed its eyes slightly. Its speed, which was already too fast to be captured by the naked eye, increased by a few notches. Under such extreme speed, the water flow was even split apart by its momentum. This was also purposely giving Chen Guanshan a chance to face the pressure head-on, making it easier to trick Chen Guanshan into unleashing his final attack. Here! Chen Guanshan didn't hesitate at all, throwing out the scimitar in his hand. It's done! The Fish King opened its eyes, and its already extremely fast speed increased again. In the blink of an eye, the Fish King had already crossed a certain distance. It looked like it was about to leave the range of Chen Guanshan's scimitar. However, at this moment, Lin Yuan, who had been motionless all this time, suddenly raised his head. His heterochromatic eyes lit up with an azure light. The water around the Fish King instantly rippled. Balls of water gathered together, forming a huge wall of water that blocked the Fish King's path. Boom! The rapidly flying Fish King slammed into the wall of water. The wall of water exploded under the Fish King's charge. Blood flowed out of the Fish King's head, rising in the water under Lin Yuan's control. It was like a bewitching devil's snare blooming. At this moment, Chen Guanshan's scimitar arrived with a whistling sound. The scimitar, which was obviously made by a craftsman from the Shuangjian dynasty, did not cut through half of the Fish King's body this time. Instead, it ruthlessly embedded itself into the Fish King's head. For a hidden weapon master like Chen Guanshan, if he didn't have at least 70% confidence, he naturally wouldn't casually release his final strike. However, he sensed something from Lin Yuan's sudden motionless actions. Thus, after making a brief prediction based on the Fish King's initial speed, he unhesitatingly threw out this blade. This was his trust in Lin Yuan. He believed that Lin Yuan wouldn't just stand by and watch. As long as he threw the knife, Lin Yuan would find a way to make his knife land on the Fish King's body. And reality proved that his gamble was correct. Lin Yuan didn't give the Fish King a chance to recover. Under his control, the water turned into a dragon that roared towards the Fish King. Clearly, he didn't plan to continue fighting with the Fish King. The spectating cultivators didn't doubt that if Lin Yuan's attack landed, no matter how tough the Fish King's life was, it definitely wouldn't be able to withstand Lin Yuan's methods. The Fish King used the same trick again. As it swung its tail, it firmly restricted the flow of the water around it. It clearly didn't give Lin Yuan any chance to take advantage of it. Even though it knew that Lin Yuan had already used his methods and was ready to take its life at any time, the Fish King really couldn't think of any other methods it could use in this situation. After all the demonic beasts in the secret territory cultivated their physical strength. Although their physical fitness was much higher than that of a demonic beast like Lin Yuan, the Fish King had no way to deal with the various mysterious means of a foreign demonic beast like Lin Yuan. Pa! The tail viciously whipped the water dragon, instantly dispersing the dragon head. However, what was revealed was Lin Yuan's incomparably thick snake tail after revealing his true body. For an existence like Lin Yuan, who was hundreds of meters long, the 3-meter-long Fish King was indeed a bit weak. Almost no one doubted that under Lin Yuan's snake tail, the Fish King could vanish into thin air at any time. However, in reality, the Fish King didn't choose to face Lin Yuan head-on. Its wildly swinging tail lightly collided with Lin Yuan's snake tail. Borrowing the force, the Fish King's body flew nearly 6 meters. Its body spun about 5 times in the water before barely stabilizing its body. Interesting. Lin Yuan's heterochromatic eyes once again emitted a golden glow. The pitch-black scales on his body lit up with specks of golden light like starlight. His figure once again swept towards the Fish King's area. This secret realm monster was more difficult to deal with than he had imagined. Even after being forced to this point, it still had the strength to resist the killing move he had prepared. In order to avoid Lin Yuan's tail attack, the Fish King's scimitar had sunk even deeper into its head. The Fish King let out a furious roar. Its gaze lingered on Lin Yuan for a moment. It didn't hide the hatred in its eyes. Once again, it swung its tail at Lin Yuan. It didn't believe that Lin Yuan's snake tail was as hard as his head. Boom! The fish tail collided with the snake head. The turbulent water shot out in all directions. Chen Guanshan, who couldn't dodge in time, was hit by the turbulent water on his shoulder, abdomen, and other parts. In an instant, a large amount of blood gushed out and mixed into the water. At the same time, Chen Guanshan lowered his head and half knelt on the ground. He didn't move for a long time. However, the war chain was still in place. Therefore, Lin Yuan could determine that Chen Guanshan wasn't dead. At most, he had just fainted. Lin Yuan floated in his original position, unmoving. On the other hand, the Fish King was once again pushed back more than 10 meters. The war chain was shaken by the Fish King as it was sent flying. Clearly, if it weren't for the war chain restraining it, Lin Yuan's attack would have sent it flying even further. However, this wasn't the end. The azure light in Lin Yuan's eyes lit up again. The water surrounding Lin Yuan surged and quickly gathered into a large blade made entirely of water beside the Fish King. It directly slashed at the Fish King. The Fish King sneered twice. Just as it was about to dodge again, it found that the water around it had turned into a rope. It tightly wrapped around its body, directly restricting its next move. If it were a human cultivator, they would have broken out in cold sweat. However, the Fish King clearly didn't have sweat glands. Therefore, it could only widen its eyes and watch the large blade made of water slash at it. In just an instant, the Fish King's head and body were split in two. A large amount of blood gushed out, dyeing a large area of the water red. Until the moment of its death, the Fish King couldn't understand how Lin Yuan could control the water around it. Chapter 334. With the death of the Fish King, the remaining silver fish did not dare to linger around and dispersed. The human cultivators, who had exhausted most of their spiritual chi, let out a long sigh. Their eyes were fixed on the fish, fearing that they would return. After all, there were quite a few among them who had exhausted their spiritual chi like Chen Guanshan. It was only when the fish coon had completely disappeared from sight that the cultivators sat on the ground, gasping for breath. It was as if all their strength had been sucked out of them. Lin Yuan also sat up and swept his gaze across the group of cultivators. The system had scanned the place before, and it did not rule out the possibility that there were some who had unique treasures on them that could shield them from perception. However, there were at least 9 heavenly strength realm cultivators in the group. When the silver fish attacked, most of them chose to only use the power of airborne realm cultivators. It was obvious that they did not want to reveal their true strength. Things had already gotten to this point, so why were these people still hiding their strength? Lin Yuan could not figure it out, but he had to think about it. These heavenly strength realm cultivators who were hiding in the dark might not have known anything about the secret realm. The secret realm had existed for so many years, and it was impossible for it to have been discovered by the embroidered guard. There were always people in the world who had unpredictable opportunities. Even if they were to lie down and take a nap in the wild, there would be treasures of heaven and earth that would fall into their mouths. A secret realm with rich treasures in the northern frontier had existed since ancient times, and no one had opened it before? But if that was the case, Lin Yuan's gaze fell on one of the disciples of the clan standing in the northern frontier. How did this person know that the secret realm would only open at a certain time? Level 4 Heavenly Strength Realm Cultivation. Lin Yuan received feedback from the system, and the uneasiness in his heart grew. The night passed without a word. The next day, early in the morning, the disciple who greeted Lin Yuan before walked to Lin Yuan's side with a look of anxiety in his eyes. He lowered his voice and said, "Lord Dragon King, you should run before they do anything." Lin Yuan was woken up by the other party. He looked at the other party with sleepy eyes. It wasn't that he had fallen into a deep sleep without any vigilance. With his current physique, it wouldn't be a problem even if he didn't rest for a long period of time. Right now, his appearance of having just woken up was just an act. If it were anyone else, they wouldn't be able to sleep peacefully among a group of people who had an ambiguous attitude towards them. This secret realm has existed in the northern frontier for a very long time. We have entered this secret realm more than once. Although we have suffered heavy losses each time, we have roughly figured out some of the areas in this secret realm. In the center of this secret realm, there is a group of palace-like buildings. It is suspected to be left behind by an ancient almighty. We can be sure that all the treasures in this secret realm are hidden in that palace. At this point, he paused and pursed his lips before continuing. However, we have tried many methods but were unable to enter the palace. It is as if there is a barrier between the air and the water, blocking our steps. Until one of us fought with the flood dragons and was bathed in the flood dragon's blood. Only then did he enter the palace for a short distance. However, the flood dragon's blood on his body quickly evaporated. After the flood dragon's blood had completely evaporated, he was sent out of the palace by an unknown force. Therefore, we speculate that only those with the blood of the dragon clan can enter that palace. At this point, his gaze fell upon Lin Yuan with a hint of helplessness. Previously, the Fish King said in public that Lin Yuan was only one step away from transforming into a flood dragon. Therefore, as long as they helped Lin Yuan take that final step, then bringing Lin Yuan into the palace would be equivalent to bringing a mobile blood bag. They would be able to freely explore the mysteries of the palace and even bring out all the treasures hidden in the palace. Lin Yuan's pair of different colored eyes flashed with a cold light. However, very quickly, Lin Yuan withdrew this cold light. These Heaven Realm cultivators did not make a move because they were worried that Lin Yuan would discover their cultivation. Now, all they needed to do was to secretly follow Lin Yuan and help Lin Yuan take that step to transform into a flood dragon. Then, when they led Lin Yuan to the palace, they would bare their sharp fangs and devour Lin Yuan. Lin Yuan could only say that the actions and thoughts of these humans were too simple-minded and simple-minded. Once he took the step of transforming into a flood dragon, his cultivation would naturally step into the Mountain Lord realm. After adding all his accumulation during this period of time to the interface, he didn't dare to say that he would have no problem reaching the second or third level of the Mountain Lord realm. Coupled with the blood-boiling technique, Lin Yuan would even dare to say that he would be able to put up a fight against a cultivator at the 5th level of the Heavenly Dipper realm, let alone this group of cultivators whose cultivation was only at the 4th level of the Heavenly Dipper realm. However, Lin Yuan wasn't worried that there would be an existence of that level hidden in the crowd. Otherwise, they could go to the neighboring Water Flood Dragon and Flying Serpent's territories at any time and capture them alive. There was no need to offend Lin Yuan, a terrifying beast king who had both power and influence in the northern frontier. Lord Dragon King, my Shui clan owes you a debt of gratitude. From a small clan that was about to fall into ruin, we were able to become one of the most powerful clans in the northern frontier. That's why I'm telling you these secrets. The clan disciple cupped his fists towards Lin Yuan and said in a low voice, although I Shui Yan am not a person with high morals, I have to repay a debt of gratitude. This is what my late father told me every day. I will help you block the cultivators here. This is the map of the secret realm that we drew up earlier. Please accept it. Lin Yuan hadn't reached the point where he could make a move against the northern frontier clans. Currently, only the embroidered uniform guard and the Chao clan knew about the government decree. Thus, the northern frontier clans who had followed behind Lin Yuan to monopolize the Fey business had all made a fortune. They were very satisfied with Lin Yuan as the ruler of the northern frontier. If Lin Yuan collapsed, the Xinwu dynasty would send another governor to control the northern frontier to control the northern frontier princes. Then, these clans would have a hard time. Thus, Shui Yan sincerely hoped that Lin Yuan would leave the secret realm as soon as possible. Shui clan, Shui Yan. I got it. Lin Yuan nodded toward Shui Yan and said with a smile, I have to repay a debt of gratitude. This king also understands this principle. Although this king won't leave today, this king will remember this debt of gratitude. If there is a chance in the future, I will definitely return it to the Shui clan. Lord Dragon King. Shui Yan's eyes were filled with anxiety. The thing that he was most worried about had happened. This Dragon King still wasn't willing to leave after knowing about the plan of those Heaven Dipper realm experts. Instead, he was planning to stay and wrestle with these fellows with ulterior motives. Chapter 335. This king won't joke around with his own life. Just watch. Lin Yuan smiled at Shui Yan. The coldness in his eyes was completely restrained, and the previous coldness could not be seen at all. In his previous life, Lin Yuan had read some novels. In fantasy novels, a powerful ancestor would protect a family or sect, allowing that power to flourish in the local area. However, in reality, this was obviously illogical. Perhaps the ancestor of a certain power was indeed very strong, but he was definitely not an invincible existence. Not to mention that the cultivators of the same realm wouldn't allow you to do whatever you want. Even if they didn't say anything, there was still the existence of the imperial court above. If it was an emperor like Lei Qiuxing, if you dared to commit any acts of banditry, you could only wait for your whole family to be executed. Shui Yan was obviously the same. Although he was a Heaven Star Border Realm Level 4 cultivator, his strength was one of the best in the entire northern frontier. However, a person's strength didn't represent the strength of the Shui family. No matter how strong he was, it was impossible for him to protect the entire Shui family. Whether a family was strong or not, it was ultimately dependent on the performance of the family members. When the northern frontier was completely under his control, Lin Yuan had plenty of ways to make a family stronger within the rules. Of course, Lin Yuan wasn't worried that things like nurturing a tiger would happen to him. He could even let go of a superclass power like the Chao family, let alone a lowly Shui family. Once the other party violated Lin Yuan's bottom line, what awaited them would be a bloody and brutal blow. Shui Yan, you really dare to betray us? A Heaven Star Border Realm cultivator who didn't make a move yesterday sneered. He opened and closed his hands. The water around him boiled rapidly and actually evaporated into water vapor. At the same time, a huge firebird phantom condensed behind this Heaven Star Border Realm cultivator. As a fire element cultivator that countered water, this person was able to pass through the undercurrent outside and survive the random teleportation on the first day. Even Lin Yuan had to show a serious expression. When his gaze landed on the other's face, a hint of wariness flashed through Lin Yuan's eyes. But soon the fear in Lin Yuan's eyes was swept away, and he sneered, "This king is standing right here. Do you have the guts to make a move against this king? No matter what you do to Shui Yan today, This king will take it all. A hint of ridicule flashed in the eyes of the Heavenly Dipper Realm expert, and the Firebird phantom behind him slowly faded away. Then he slowly raised his right hand, pointed at Lin Yuan and said, "You, the Black Snake, are just a beast. Even if you know our plan, what can you do? Today, I'll say it right here. If you want to transform into a flood dragon, you'll have to do it. If you don't want to, you'll have to transform into a flood dragon for me. Are you going to shed all pretense of cordiality?" After a night of recuperation, Chen Guanshan, who had gradually recovered to his peak state, stepped behind Lin Yuan and looked at the cultivator who summoned the Firebird phantom. A hint of mockery flashed across his face, and he said indifferently, "I heard that dogs that bite don't bark. I'm very curious if you're an exception." Even the Heaven Star Border Realm cultivator who was a distance away could hear the conversation between Shui Yan and Lin Yuan. Chen Guanshan, who was beside Lin Yuan last night, naturally heard it. But to him, Lin Yuan's sincere goodwill was far more important than a bullshit secret realm. Therefore, Chen Guanshan still didn't hesitate and stepped behind Lin Yuan. A cold glint flashed across the Heaven Star Border Realm cultivator's eyes. As one of the few experts in the northern frontier, when had he ever been compared to a dog? It was just that the Heaven Star Border Realm expert who was suspected to be the Shuangjian barbarian had shown his skills yesterday. It was enough to make any of them feel fear. After all, although they were strong, they were still mortals. Not all of them had the level of self-healing ability of the Fish King. If they were to be hit by Chen Guanshan, they would at least be half dead. The Heaven Star Border Realm expert trembled with anger. In the end, he fiercely glared at Chen Guanshan and angrily returned to his resting place and sat down cross-legged. As expected, dogs that bite don't bark. Chen Guanshan seemed to be muttering to himself, but his voice wasn't soft. At least, the Heaven Star Border Realm expert who had just left could hear it. "What are you thinking?" Chen Guanshan walked to Lin Yuan and Shui Yan's side and asked directly without any hesitation. Shui Yan's tip-off to Lin Yuan had undoubtedly violated the bottom line of all Heaven Star Border Realm experts. Therefore, there was no place for Shui Yan. Even if Shui Yan's cultivation wasn't weak, he couldn't withstand the attacks of 8 Heaven Star Border Realm cultivators at the same time, right? Now Shui Yan had no choice but to follow Lin Yuan and follow Lin Yuan for good or ill. In the Hengduan mountain range, hunting and being hunted are always going on. What's funny is that most of the prey thinks of themselves as the hunter. Lin Yuan's gaze swept across Chen Guanshan's face and replied indifferently. Since they had already shed all pretenses, Lin Yuan didn't mind offending the other party even more. Strange creatures like humans seem to be like this. If someone bullied you, if you retaliated, the other party might be angrier, or they might leave with their tails between their legs, not daring to provoke you again. But if you endured this, then the next time you met, the other party would bully you again until you couldn't bear it anymore and burst out. Only then would you realize that the other party was nothing more than this. Would Lin Yuan be afraid of a group of Heaven Star Border Realm cultivators? Obviously not. These Heaven Star Border Realm cultivators who had shed all pretenses with him had become moving free attribute points in Lin Yuan's eyes, waiting for him to harvest. As soon as the voice fell, a group of Heaven Star Border Realm experts couldn't wait to tear Lin Yuan apart. However, Lin Yuan's transformation into a dragon could give them unimaginable benefits, so they could only endure and silently remember this account. According to the original plan, where is the first stop? Lin Yuan's gaze fell on Shui Yan's face again. Shui Yan pondered for a moment, frowned and opened the animal skin map that he intended to pass to Lin Yuan, but Lin Yuan didn't take it. He glanced at it and said in a deep voice, "Next to the territory of the silver-scaled fish is the territory of the water dragon. We have seen some young water dragons eating a kind of plant more than once. Although it will be very painful after eating, once they get through it, the baby will become a real water dragon, and those who fail will become another kind of creature." Lin Yuan raised his eyelids. Under the reflection of the aura, he still engraved the entire map in his mind. This map wasn't complete. Many places were marked with unknown question marks, and the area they explored was at most 1/5 of the secret realm. Chapter 336. However, Lin Yuan was very interested in the plant that Shui Yan mentioned. In order to transform into a flood dragon, he had even given himself a divine name. Although he did not know how to cultivate Yin God or Yang God, in order to transform into a flood dragon, he had no choice but to do his best to accumulate the power of incense. However, he had never thought that there would be such a strange way to transform into a flood dragon. If one could endure the side effects of the plant, they could directly transform into a water flood dragon. On the other hand, those who consumed it would lose their original water flood dragon bloodline and become the flying serpent. That Lin Yuan's evaluation in his previous life was similar to that of a water flood dragon cub. Although he did not know if the flying serpent had the chance to transform into a dragon, in this cruel law of nature, the loser would definitely have to pay a corresponding price. Otherwise, Lin Yuan would not have seen the battle between the water flood dragon and the flying serpent. In other words, they plan to let me consume this plant? Lin Yuan blinked and said doubtfully, "Did they not consider that there is at least a 50% chance that I will fail after consuming this plant? If I transform into a flying serpent and lose the dragon blood in my body, I will naturally not be able to bring them into the palace. Could it be that they gave me a 100% chance of success?" Heh. Shui Yan laughed bitterly and spread out his hands. Of course not. However, every year, they would capture some demonic beasts with dragon blood in their bodies to consume this plant. It's just that the failure rate is always very high, and the few that succeed are also very weak. It is not enough to support them to explore many secret realms. However, there are some gains every year, which is why they come every year. Lin Yuan's eyes quickly revealed a look of realization. No wonder those Heaven Realm experts did not care if he succeeded in transforming into a flood dragon. Clearly, they had expected him to break through to the Mountain Lord realm. However, this plant that could help transform into a flood dragon obviously had a huge side effect. Even if the transformation was successful, the user would fall into a weakened state for a period of time. Unfortunately, you guys know nothing about hacking. A cold light flashed in Lin Yuan's eyes again. Although Lin Yuan didn't know how powerful the system was, it was clear that every time he leveled up, he wouldn't feel bloated or uncomfortable. That was because the system had helped him get rid of these drawbacks. No matter how big the side effects of the plant that can help transform into a flood dragon are, in the end, only able to transform a dragon bloodline demon beast into a flood dragon. However, since the system on Lin Yuan's body is called infinite evolution, then it will not be helpless against this level of side effects. Weak. That was impossible. The cold light in Lin Yuan's eyes quickly turned into a confident glow. He wriggled his snake body and walked towards the water WYRM's territory. At this moment, Lin Yuan looked even more impatient than those Heaven Realm cultivators. Seeing that Lin Yuan was recklessly taking the initiative to act according to their plan, the 8 Heaven Realm cultivators quickly stepped out from the crowd and followed behind Lin Yuan's group. There was a hint of mockery in their eyes. Ever since the black snake was born, it seemed that it had never lost. Whether its opponent was a small beast in the demonic beast forest or the city lord of Mountain Block City, those enemies seemed to have never been able to stop the black snake's footsteps. That was why the black snake was so confident. It was so confident that it was even a little conceited. However, Lin Yuan's willingness to cooperate with their plan was a good thing for them. Therefore, they were waiting to see the despair in Lin Yuan's eyes. With that thought in mind, their footsteps seemed to be even more impatient than Lin Yuan. Those airborne realm cultivators who were watching from the sidelines looked like they wanted to say something but stopped themselves. Although they wanted to follow and see who won in the end, being able to cultivate to such a level meant that not many people were fools. However, they soon realized that this was not something they could get involved in. Therefore, they all sat down in silence and waited for the final winner to return. Soon, the group arrived at the Water Jiao's territory. At this time, there were not many demonic beasts in the Water Jiao's territory. Only 1 Water Jiao and 3 flying serpents. At least, that was what Lin Yuan saw in the system's feedback and the image in the olfactory imaging. Lin Yuan stopped the snake and looked at the 8 Heaven Realm cultivators behind him. He said indifferently, "It's time for you to work." The 8 Heaven Realm cultivators did not hesitate. Their figures flashed and quickly disappeared into the Water Jiao's territory in front of them. About 4 hours later, only 6 of the 8 Heaven Realm cultivators returned. One of them was obviously injured, but the leader was holding a green plant that looked like a tree root in his hand and handed it over. They were just a group of low-level Heaven Realm cultivators, after all. Dealing with demonic beasts at the level of the Water Jiao and the flying serpents was obviously beyond their ability. Fortunately, There was almost no defense in the Water Jiao's territory at the moment. Otherwise, they would not have just paid the price of 2 lives. Lin Yuan looked at Shui Yan with a puzzled look. Shui Yan quickly nodded. As someone who had participated in exploring the palace many times, he naturally recognized what that thing was. Therefore, Shui Yan quickly nodded and confirmed that the other party did not do anything to it. Lin Yuan quickly swallowed that root-like thing under the watchful eyes of the group. Ding! The host has consumed a spiritual item. The purity of the Water Jiao's bloodline has begun to increase. Ding! The host's body is being eroded by an unknown force. The Water Jiao's bloodline is mutating, neutralizing the foreign force, correcting the direction of bloodline evolution. A series of notifications rang in Lin Yuan's mind. However, Lin Yuan did not have the energy to pay attention to the system at the moment. After consuming the root-like plant, Lin Yuan felt his stomach churning as if he had swallowed a barrel of gunpowder that was about to explode. At first, Lin Yuan only had a stomachache, but following that, he felt his organs trembling violently. All the muscles in his body were being torn apart by a strange force. Even though the scales on the surface did not change, large amounts of blood continued to seep out from the gaps between the scales. The water around Lin Yuan also quickly turned turbid. This guy, did he fail? A Heaven Dipper realm expert frowned and asked worriedly. Due to Lin Yuan's existence, they could not catch the dragon bloodline demonic beasts in the Hengduan mountain range at all. Moreover, the dragon bloodline demonic beasts that they used to sell from the south were also put on hold because of the war in the south. Other than Lin Yuan, who had the dragon bloodline, they did not have any other backup plan. Therefore, once Lin Yuan failed, it meant that their trip to the secret realm was equivalent to a wasted trip. Let's wait a little longer. There's no hurry. This guy doesn't seem to have started to mutate yet. Although the cultivator who had summoned the firebird earlier was also frowning, his voice was still somewhat calm. Chapter 337. Lin Yuan found it hard to describe the pain he was enduring. If there really was a hell in this world, then Lin Yuan felt as if he was locked in the deepest part of hell, enduring the longest and most painful torture. Every part of his body was constantly being torn apart and then healed by an inexplicable force. Even though Lin Yuan could feel that his physical body was constantly strengthening under the pain of constant destruction and rebirth, he still hoped that the pain would end quickly. He was even worried that if he continued like this, he would not be able to help but go crazy. There were no shortcuts in this world. Even though the spiritual item Lin Yuan had consumed could allow his bloodline to evolve into a water WYRM, the side effects were absolutely terrifying. From the system's notification, Lin Yuan knew very well that if the system had not intervened, his evolution would have failed and he would have turned into a flying serpent or some other monster. Ding! Congratulations to the host. Bloodline evolution complete. As the host's bloodline has evolved into a water WYRM, the bottleneck of the realm has disappeared. Congratulations to the host for advancing to the Mountain Lord realm. Ding! Congratulations to the host for advancing to the Mountain Lord realm. You have received a Mountain Lord realm gift pack. Warning: the unknown force in the host's body has not been completely expelled. The effects are currently unknown. There may be unknown changes in the future. Ding! Congratulations to the host. As the bloodline has evolved, you have received the innate ability Water Affinity. A series of notifications exploded in Lin Yuan's mind, but Lin Yuan did not care at all. The terrifying pain caused Lin Yuan to wrap his serpent body tightly together. There was no sign of life in his heterochromatic eyes, and the whites of his eyes were bloodshot. His mind was on the verge of collapse. Dead? This guy. It can't be, right? The cultivator who had summoned the firebird's shadow earlier frowned and muttered doubtfully. In the past few years, they had tied up dragon bloodline demonic beasts and fed them with this plant that could help them transform into a flood dragon. Although the failure rate was much higher than the success rate, they had never seen a dragon bloodline demonic beast die because of an unsuccessful transformation. Lin Yuan's gaze fell on the cultivators who were constantly sizing him up. He was sorting out his mind bit by bit, pulling himself back from the brink of a mental breakdown. Other than the mental problem, Lin Yuan felt that all the muscles in his body were extremely sore. This was the after effect of countless tearing and healing, so he was really too lazy to move now. It's not dead yet. It's still breathing. A Heaven Strength Realm cultivator crossed his arms in front of his chest and said expressionlessly, "But, what's the situation with this black serpent? Did it succeed or fail?" In the past, when a dragon bloodline monster ate this plant, regardless of whether it succeeded or failed, there would be a significant change in their appearance. However, at this moment, other than the weak aura of the black serpent, there were no visible changes. The only abnormality was that the blood that had seeped out of its scales had dried up and stuck to the gaps between the scales, forming a layer of blood shell. In fact, Lin Yuan was not unchanged. It was just that his physical body had just finished evolving, and his scales were already that of a water worm's. In addition, Lin Yuan was now in the pseudo-lawful embodiment of heaven and earth stage, so the increase in his body length after advancing to the Mountain Lord stage did not appear. Therefore, from the outside, Lin Yuan did not seem to have changed at all. After all, having scales but not horns was still a horn. If Lin Yuan could improve his bloodline and grow a dragon horn, then he would truly step into the ranks of the dragon clan. Although he would be a dragon of the lowest level, his power was far beyond the imagination of mortals. Is the dosage not enough? Another Heaven's Strength Realm cultivator asked. Everyone was silent for a moment, and no one dared to speak. Previously, when they went to steal the spiritual item that they named Dragon Transformation Root, they were chased down by the Water Wyrm and the Flying Serpent. Even though they had the advantage in numbers, they still paid the price of 2 deaths and 1 injury. Now, if they went back to look for trouble with those enraged monsters, none of them would be able to escape alive. What's the meaning of this? Don't tell me we've come here for nothing? The Heaven's Strength Realm cultivator who summoned the Firebird narrowed his eyes, and a cold glint flashed in his eyes. He said in a deep voice, "This secret realm only opens once every 5 years. I can't compare to you guys with big families. If I return empty-handed this time, I might not be able to eat next year." At this point, his gaze fell on Chen Guanshan and Shui Yan. He sneered. "What's the matter? The two of you have been watching from the side for so long. Aren't you going to do something and help our Dragon King as well?" After he finished speaking, the remaining 5 Heaven's Strength Realm cultivators all gathered around in tacit understanding. Their eyes flashed with a cold glint, as if they would immediately attack if the two of them didn't agree. They didn't know if Lin Yuan had succeeded in transforming into a dragon. They suspected that the dosage of the Dragon Transformation Root was not enough. If they had to go back and face the Water Wyrm and the Flying Serpent again, they naturally wouldn't have the guts to do so. In comparison, to deal with Chen Guanshan and Shui Yan who were of the same kind, they obviously didn't have so many scruples. "This day," Chen Guanshan sneered, and his right hand slowly reached for his waist. He didn't seem to have any intention of hiding it, so his actions were completely seen by everyone. In that instant, everyone thought of the Fish King that Chen Guanshan had heavily injured yesterday, and a hint of fear appeared in their eyes. Although they didn't retract their serious coldness, their bodies honestly took half a step back. To be honest, what I hate the most is people threatening me. If you have the ability, come up and fight with real swords and spears. I, Chen Guanshan, don't dare to say anything else, but my skills are passable. Before I die, I will definitely be able to take away 2 of the 5 of you trash. Do you believe me? Although Chen Guanshan was at a disadvantage, his aura wasn't weak at all. His eyes flashed with a cold glint, as if his killing intent was more than the 5 Heaven's Strength Realm cultivators. Lin Yuan, who was lying on the ground slowly recovering his mind, rolled his eyes. With Chen Guanshan's external appearance, coupled with that strangely shaped curved blade, if one didn't know him, they would really think that he was a barbarian from the Shuangjian dynasty. Although Shui Yan didn't say anything, he silently took off his shirt, revealing the iron rings hidden under his sleeves that almost covered his entire arm. The battle intent in his eyes was also very strong. "Iron Thread Fist, you are." One of the Heaven's Strength Realm cultivators looked at the iron rings on Shui Yan's arms and immediately exclaimed, as if he had discovered an incredible secret. Chapter 338. 25 years ago, an incredible figure had appeared on the northern frontier. At that time, the northern frontier had just been brought under Lei Qiusheng's rule. Various families and sects had been eyeing it covetously. As the most remote northern frontier, there were many warlords, and a new northern frontier governor would take over every 2 to 3 days. Lei Qiusheng couldn't do anything about the northern frontier at that time. After all, the demon-subduing Master Guild, various large merchant associations, the remnants of the Jiao clan, monsters, and spies from other dynasties were all gathered here. Lei Qiusheng didn't care about those small warlords, but there were many hidden big hands in the northern frontier that suppressed Lei Qiusheng to the point that he couldn't breathe. Therefore, Lei Qiusheng made the same choice back then as he did now: temporarily give up on the northern frontier. Without the threat of Lei Qiusheng, the northern frontier warlords could do whatever they wanted. All of them were tyrannical, causing the entire northern frontier to be in dire straits. At that time, the northern frontier could be said to be littered with corpses. That was until that incredible existence was born. A pair of iron fists fought from one end of the northern frontier to the other end of the northern frontier. Looking at the entire Tianwu continent, the northern frontier was just a small corner. However, to ordinary people and even mortal evolution state cultivators, the northern frontier was a vast territory that they wouldn't be able to cover even if they spent their entire lives walking. That man, on the other hand, had only spent 2 months walking and fighting to wipe out the entire northern frontier's warlords. The strange thing was that all the forces kept silent about this man who had pacified the chaos in the northern frontier. No one interfered with his affairs, even the remnants of the Jiao clan who couldn't bear to see the Xinwu dynasty prosper. Of course, such a person definitely didn't have a good ending. Even though he was alone, he was still labeled as a warlord by Lei Qiusheng. He was forced to destroy his own cultivation in the east of Shunning City and then executed. After that, there were no more legends about this person in the northern frontier, as if someone was deliberately covering it up. However, the previous generation of cultivators in the northern frontier all knew that such an incredible person had once appeared in the northern frontier. At this moment, the iron ring on Shui Yan's arm was exactly the same as the man who had swept across the northern frontier. Shui Yan cupped his fists and bowed to the upper left. He said in a deep voice, "Your Master Ma Jun." Indeed. Hearing this familiar name, the 5 Heaven Dipper realm cultivators all raised their eyebrows. Shui Yan's cultivation was not low. Even among this group of people, Shui Yan's combat strength was top-notch. However, the trump card that Shui Yan had exposed at this moment was something that they had never thought of. A man who could sweep across the entire northern frontier with a pair of iron fists. How terrifying would his disciple be? In fact, the frequency of low-level cultivators killing high-level cultivators in the Tianwu continent was not low. This was related to the foundation of the cultivator. For example, if a cultivator in the airborne realm from a first-class sect fought with a Heaven Dipper realm cultivator who was groping on the road of cultivation, even if he couldn't win, he wouldn't fall behind for 300 or 400 rounds. It was needless to say how terrifying Ma Jun's inheritance was. After 25 years, the fact that this name could still make these Heaven Dipper realm cultivators fearful was the best proof. The cultivator who summoned the firebird pondered for a moment and said loudly, "Don't pretend to be noble. Those who don't know will really think that the two of you have a good relationship with this black snake. At the end of the day, the two of you just don't care about the things in the palace. However, you have other demands for the black snake." Hearing this, Chen Guanshan and Shui Yan raised their eyebrows without saying anything. After all, the other party's words really hit the nail on the head. To them, no secret realm or spiritual item was more helpful than Lin Yuan's kindness. That was why they stood on Lin Yuan's side instead of following the crowd and scheming against Lin Yuan. "That's right." Another Heaven Dipper realm cultivator spoke and said in a low muffled voice, "Everyone just has different demands for benefits. Don't make the two of you sound so noble. Look at this black snake. It's about to die. Who can be blamed for this? It's just that it's too confident and thinks that we can't scheme against it. Otherwise, how could it be reduced to such a state?" At this point, he looked around and continued, "Why don't we join forces? The 7 of us will go to the water serpent's territory again and steal a dragon transformation root for this black snake to consume. If it successfully transforms into a serpent, then we'll be rich. At worst, we'll agree to spare this black snake's life. What if we fail?" All of a sudden, a somewhat unfamiliar voice sounded. The Heaven Dipper realm cultivator laughed and said matter-of-factly, "What if we fail? If we fail, then we'll be unlucky this year. This trip to the secret realm will be a wasted trip. Next year." At this point, the Heaven Dipper Realm Cultivator's voice stopped abruptly. There was a hint of surprise in his eyes. Lin Yuan, who was motionless as if he was dead, had now coiled up his snake body behind Chen Guanshan and Shui Yan. His cold gaze fell on the Heaven Dipper Realm Cultivator, and his heterochromatic eyes were filled with ridicule. Did we succeed? The Heaven Dipper Realm Cultivator swallowed his saliva and asked with uncertainty. He even thought that he was in a dream. After all, the black snake, which had closed its eyes and waited for death, was now standing up vigorously. The contrast was enough to make people with weak minds panic. Especially at this moment, when he met Lin Yuan's gaze, he actually felt an inexplicable sense of fear. Of course, this wasn't a psychological effect. It was because after his bloodline had successfully evolved, Lin Yuan's dragon's might had changed from an active skill to a passive skill. It was as if this was an innate ability of his. With the cultivation of a first-level mountain lord, Lin Yuan could directly suppress this Heaven Dipper Realm Cultivator with his aura by borrowing the dragon's might. This made Lin Yuan even more interested in the new abilities and skills that could be unlocked by the Mountain Lord realm. The martial arts and other items stored in the Mountain Lord realm gift bag had yet to be opened. However, Lin Yuan was certain that after being stuck in this realm for so long, he would definitely welcome a qualitative leap after breaking through. Just now, you said that if this trip is a waste, you won't be able to eat next year, right? The corner of Lin Yuan's mouth cracked open, revealing an incomparably evil smile at the Heaven Dipper Realm Cultivator who had summoned the Firebird. A hint of panic flashed across the Heaven Dipper Realm Cultivator's eyes, but he still angrily rebuked. You just happened to break through. I want to see how much combat strength you have left after eating the Dragonification root. Is it enough for me to warm up? Chapter 339. These words were like a shot of adrenaline, injected into everyone's hearts. Although there were no changes to Lin Yuan's body, from its aura, it was obvious that it had succeeded in transforming into a flood dragon. According to the characteristics of the dragonization root, even if Lin Yuan had broken through to the Mountain Lord realm, he should still be extremely weak and unable to pose any threat to them. Come to think of it, according to the character of this black snake, how could it waste its breath here with them? If it really had the strength to crush them, it would have already pounced on them and launched an attack. The shadow of the Firebird appeared out of thin air once again. The cultivator, who was scolded by Chen Guanzhan as a dog that did not bite, was the first to bare his fangs at Lin Yuan at this moment. Countless streams of water rushed past him and were quickly evaporated by the Firebird. This was the experience he had accumulated over many years of fighting with people. Do not give the enemy any chance. Lin Yuan's method of controlling the water was too strange. Even the Fish King, whose speed was said to be strange, fell for it. He didn't think that he would be lucky enough to escape, so before Lin Yuan attacked, he directly used a spell to evaporate the water around him, minimizing the threat to him. A futile struggle. Lin Yuan sneered. In the next moment, the water around him condensed into the image of a ferocious dragon, roaring fiercely, and crashed into the area where the Firebird was. Wherever it went, it was like a king patrolling his territory. Most of the water along the way merged into the water dragon, making the water dragon even stronger and more ferocious. Go! The Heaven Dipper realm expert who summoned the Firebird naturally didn't want to show weakness. After a series of chants, flames wrapped around his body like a coat, still evaporating the water around him. The Firebird that condensed behind him whistled and flew directly towards the water dragon that Lin Yuan waved. The Firebird, which could condense underwater and evaporate a waterless area, was naturally incomparably powerful. Therefore, in terms of momentum alone, the raging dragon, which had the geographical advantage, was actually unable to compete with the Firebird. It was clearly the first to attack, but the Firebird fiercely suppressed it. A cold azure light flashed in Lin Yuan's eyes. In the next moment, the enraged dragon's body twisted and directly entangled the Firebird that was flying over. The two monsters that were condensed from elements were entangled together, and similarly, water and fire were entangled together. The raging dragon continued to evaporate, but in the blink of an eye, it would condense again. From time to time, the Firebird would be twisted into strange angles by the dragon, but it would soon let out a shrill cry again. This was a showdown between life and death. Regardless of whether it was the Heavenly Dipper Realm expert who summoned the Firebird or Lin Yuan, both of them were staking everything they had in this game. The Heavenly Dipper Realm expert's body was gradually covered with a layer of white frost, but his eyes still flickered with a cold light, as if he was completely aware of his own abnormality. He used all his strength to control the Firebird and the Raging Dragon to kill each other. It was the same for Lin Yuan. The blood shell and scales on his body were scorched by the high temperature, and the smell of roasted meat could even be smelled from Lin Yuan's body from afar. The remaining 6 people who had yet to participate in the battle looked at each other. None of them were newbies who had just entered the pugilistic world. At this time, if they were to talk about the pugilistic world's morality and such, they would only be defeated one by one. Therefore, the 4 Heavenly Dipper Realm experts didn't have any communication, but they took out their respective weapons at the same time. Naturally, Chen Guanshan and Shui Yan wouldn't just stand by and watch. One on the left and one on the right, they protected Lin Yuan. Their gazes landed on the 4 Heavenly Dipper Realm experts, and their eyes revealed a hint of disdain. Everyone was very clear that this was undoubtedly a game of life and death between the 2 sides. If Lin Yuan could kill the other side, then in the following 3 against 4 battle, they could almost take down these guys without any suspense. But if Lin Yuan was interrupted halfway, he would inevitably be counterattacked by the spell. At that time, it would be 2 against 5, and they would have to bring along the burden of Lin Yuan, who had lost his combat power. Both sides were red-eyed, staring fiercely at their opponents. Boom! A loud noise suddenly rang out. Before everyone could fight, Lin Yuan and the Heavenly Dipper Realm expert who summoned the Firebird changed again. The boiling water splashed everywhere, and countless steam began to rise. The Raging Dragon and the Firebird disappeared almost at the same time. The Heavenly Dipper Realm expert who summoned the Firebird took a few steps back and spat out a big mouthful of dirty blood. His whole body was trembling slightly. Lin Yuan was calm and unruffled in the midst of chaos. His heterochromatic eyes revealed a touch of ridicule. Immediately, Lin Yuan's eyes widened. An even more ferocious and terrifying Raging Dragon suddenly condensed beside Lin Yuan. Puff! The Heavenly Dipper Realm expert who summoned the Firebird spat out another mouthful of blood. But this time, it was not because of the internal injuries, but purely because of Lin Yuan's anger. This monster had the power to crush him from the beginning, but he just had to release a water dragon that was about as strong as his Firebird to fight. Both sides suffered a certain degree of injury, but the same degree of injury might be fatal on a human, but on a monster, it might be called scraping. In other words, in the confrontation just now, his whole person was almost frozen into a popsicle. And Lin Yuan's body temperature at most rose a little. However, snakes were cold-blooded animals. If they did not get sunlight to adjust their body temperature for a long time, they might even freeze themselves to death. So not only did his method not cause any harm to Lin Yuan, but it was more like giving Lin Yuan a full body massage. This degree of attack, even before transforming into a flood dragon, Lin Yuan did not care about it, let alone now that his body had been torn and reconstructed countless times. So ugly. Lin Yuan grinned and said with a cold smile, "At the beginning, your eyes were full of ferocity. When we were fighting, your eyes were full of horror. And now, after your method was broken by me, your eyes are only filled with despair. I can't see any other emotions at all." Speaking up to this point, Lin Yuan paused. The grin on his face widened and he said loudly, "You're so afraid of death, yet you still came to explore the mystic realm like others?" Even though he was wrapped in a layer of flames, the Heavenly Dipper Realm expert who summoned the Firebird was still shivering from the cold. His lips were trembling, and he gritted his teeth and said, "I'm sorry, Lord Dragon King. I was blinded by lard before to go against you. Please be magnanimous and let me go this time. In the future, I'll be your slave." Lin Yuan's strength was far above his. And now, he was not even sure if Lin Yuan was really in a weakened state. "It's too late." Lin Yuan's indifferent voice sounded like an emotionless death god giving the final judgment. Chapter 340. The moment Lin Yuan's voice fell, the furious dragon water form had already whizzed out. This time, whether it was strength or speed, it was more than 10 times stronger than the previous furious dragon water form. The Heavenly Dipper Realm expert, who was still begging for mercy, didn't even have time to dodge. His chest was directly penetrated by the huge furious dragon water phase, and the begging voice in his mouth stopped abruptly. A moment later, his whole body was torn apart, and directly shattered into dark red ice dregs all over the ground, which looked shocking. Seeing this scene, Shui Yan suddenly shuddered. If it wasn't for the trace of kindness in his heart that made him unable to lay his hands on Lin Yuan who saved his family, he might not end up any better than this guy today. Then, who is the next one? Lin Yuan's heterochromatic eyes looked around and asked in a joking tone. Walla dash. Just as Lin Yuan's voice fell, the remaining 4 Heaven Dipper realm powerhouses didn't dare to stay at all and directly flew in all directions. After all, the previous lesson was in front of them. They didn't want to be the next unlucky guy targeted by Lin Yuan, so at this time, they split up and ran. Whoever Lin Yuan chased after would be unlucky. After the 4 Heaven Dipper realm cultivators all fled 2 or 3 kilometers away, Lin Yuan's snake body swayed and opened his mouth to spit out a large mouthful of stagnant black blood. At this moment, the dragon power on his body also dissipated at this moment. The breath on his body began to weaken, and he couldn't even maintain his current posture. He was directly on the verge of collapse. Chen Guanshan and Shui Yan looked at each other and saw a touch of horror in each other's eyes. How terrifying was the combat power that Lin Yuan broke out just now. Killing a Heaven Dipper realm powerhouse in an instant, even if he had the advantage of being underwater, it was undeniable that Lin Yuan really had the ability to kill the other party. Even if it was on land, Lin Yuan would have to spend a lot of effort at best. With this kind of combat power, he was actually an arrow at the end of its flight. If Lin Yuan wasn't in a weakened state, how terrifying would he be at his peak? Chen Guanshan took a step forward and supported Lin Yuan, who was on the verge of collapse. Let's go! Lin Yuan's weak voice sounded in his ears. Chen Guanshan was shocked and looked around nervously for a moment. Those who were able to cultivate to the Heaven Dipper realm were no fools. Lin Yuan was now just an arrow at the end of its flight. He took the opportunity to kill the Heaven Dipper realm expert who summoned the Firebird. His purpose was to kill the chicken to warn the monkey. While these fellows were fleeing, he quickly left this place. Once those fellows found out that Lin Yuan wasn't chasing after them, they would inevitably find a way to come back to investigate the situation so that they could decide their next move. Therefore, leaving here now could give them a chance to breathe. Secondly, it could continue the fear in the other party's heart, making the other party mistakenly think that Lin Yuan wasn't chasing after one of the 4 people. Before the 4 people met, Lin Yuan's secret move wouldn't be exposed. Shui Yan and Chen Guanshan were slow to react. Fortunately, Lin Yuan did not have the strength to speak, so the 2 of them quickly carried Lin Yuan. One of them lifted his tail and the other carried his head, and escaped in the direction chosen by the 4 people. Lin Yuan couldn't even be bothered to speak at this moment. He didn't know what the dragonization root was, but its toxicity was far greater than Lin Yuan imagined. After all, it was something that even the system couldn't completely expel. Previously, Lin Yuan wanted to immediately add all the attribute points he had accumulated during this period to the interface after breaking through to the Mountain Lord realm. He wanted to quickly break through to the 2nd level of the Mountain Lord realm and make use of the system's convenience of restoring him to his peak state when he leveled up to catch these Heaven Dipper realm experts off guard. However, he didn't expect the difference between the 2nd level and the 1st level of the Mountain Lord realm to be so terrifying. Originally, when Lin Yuan was at the 10th level of the Wisdom realm, all his attributes had reached 700 points. During this period of time, he had accumulated 300 points. He felt that no matter how big the difference between the Mountain Lord realm and the Wisdom realm was, it shouldn't be so bad that he couldn't advance by 1 level after increasing all his attributes by half, right? However, in reality, it wasn't enough for him to advance. In reality, Lin Yuan didn't just add 300 points to his attributes. When he consumed the dragonization root, Lin Yuan's attack and defense had both increased by 150 points due to the constant tearing and rebirth of his body, as well as the effects of the dragonization root and the dragonization root. In addition, Lin Yuan added his own attribute points. Now, all of Lin Yuan's attributes had reached a whopping 1,300 points. And this wasn't even taking into account the defense provided by the dragon scale armor. With such a terrifying accumulation of data, Lin Yuan still wasn't able to smoothly break through to the 2nd level of the Mountain Lord realm. This made Lin Yuan's heart turn cold. When he was in the Spirit Awakening realm, he only needed to add 1 point to the attribute points required to advance by 1 level. The Wisdom realm was even simpler. Other than the difference between the first level of the Wisdom Realm and the 10th level of the Wisdom Realm, the attribute points required to advance by one level didn't change at all. At one point, Lin Yuan felt that demonic beasts didn't need to rely on attribute points in the later stages. In the end, before he could even wake up from his dream, the system gave him another resounding slap on his face. He didn't even manage to advance by one level after spending a total of 600 points. He didn't even feel the bottleneck. Lin Yuan even felt that at this stage, if he wanted to rely on killing demonic beasts or humans to advance by one level, the people of the Shenwu dynasty would probably all be wiped out by him before he broke through to the peak of the Mountain Lord realm. Could it be that in the later stages, I have to use Joss Flames and War Points to exchange for attribute points to advance? Lin Yuan narrowed his eyes slightly as he pondered in his heart. Every time the system activated a template, if it wasn't something that he needed, then there must be some deeper meaning behind it. The Faction Battle template and the Joss Flames template were two completely different paths for Lin Yuan. One path required him to continuously provoke the various factions of the Tianwu continent, triggering war after war, and then completing these wars and war missions to obtain large amounts of war points. This path was a path that Lin Yuan had to take, but no one dared to say that they were an invincible general. There was an old saying in his previous life, a general dies in 100 battles. No one dared to say that they could win for their entire life. Exchanging war points for attribute points was already a loss. If he lost a war or failed a war mission, the price he would have to pay wouldn't be small. As for collecting Joss Flames and converting them into attribute points, it was a very peaceful path. Although it was filled with countless bloodshed, even if he failed, he wouldn't have to pay any price. Moreover, according to the system's introduction of the Joss Flames template, every believer would provide him with Joss Flames every day, and it was a renewable resource. Chapter 341. Chen Guanshan and Shui Yan carried Lin Yuan and sped away. Lin Yuan constantly adjusted his breathing. As time passed, his body did not get better as Lin Yuan expected. Instead, it became more and more dizzy and uncomfortable. However, in this state, Lin Yuan felt that his spirit was unprecedentedly strong. He could not even faint even if he wanted to. Ding! The foreign energy in the host's body has been completely removed. However, the changes caused by the foreign energy to the host are irreversible. Ding! Due to the corrosion of the foreign energy, the host's innate talent, water affinity, has undergone an irreversible change. Innate talent. Water affinity. Due to its characteristics, it has been officially renamed to Nether River Blackwater. Another series of system notifications sounded. Lin Yuan frowned slightly. However, he endured the fatigue and pain and opened his panel. Host, Lin Yuan status, Blackwater Nether Flood Dragon, mutated, realm, 21/30th speed, 300 attack, 500 defense, 500 plus 100 demonic power, 2000 assignable attribute points, 0 innate talents. First, Eye of God. Based on the smell, it forms an accurate image of the surrounding 50,000 meters. The host can inspect the attributes of all creatures within the image range. This innate talent cannot be upgraded. It is a combination of innate talent 1, innate talent 2, and the special skill, Appraisal Eye. It can be switched on or off. The scanning range is calculated based on the host's demonic power. The host can only use the ability to inspect attributes 3 times a day. If the number of uses is maxed out, it will automatically enter a cooldown period. It can only be used again after 24 hours. This skill also has a failure rate. However, it has a 100% success rate for detecting creatures below the host's realm. It has a 50% success rate for creatures of the same realm as the host. For creatures above the host's realm, it has a 30% success rate. Second, Monarch of Water. You can take away the ability to control water from creatures whose realm is lower than yours or whose ability to control water is not as good as yours. This innate talent cannot be upgraded with attribute points. It can only be upgraded based on the host's understanding of the ability to control water. The current upgrade progress is 15/100. Third, Invisible Ice. Your ice spells cannot be detected before they are used on the enemy. This innate talent cannot be upgraded with attribute points. It can only be upgraded based on the host's understanding of the ability to control ice. The current upgrade progress is 10/300. Fourth, the blood sacrifice wish technique. Make a wish by using one's own blood or the blood of other living beings as a sacrifice. Whether or not the wish is fulfilled depends on the size of the wish and the quality of the sacrifice. This talent is a cause and effect skill. Offerings can be replaced with free attribute points. Each free attribute point is equivalent to a drop of the host's blood at the current stage. Regardless of whether the final wish is successful or not, the offerings will not be returned. 5. Flood Dragon Scale Armor. When the host's scale armor is in good condition, it can increase the host's defense by 20%. Congratulations, you've become a real Flood Dragon, so your Flood Snake Scale Armor has been changed to Flood Dragon Scale Armor. 6. Pseudo-Celestial Body. The host can control the size of his body at will. The smallest size can't be smaller than the smallest size of the species, and the largest size can't exceed the host's original size. This is a special skill. It can be upgraded, but it cannot be upgraded with free attribute points. Please find the way to upgrade it by yourself. The current upgrade progress is 0 of 100. 7. Dragon Aura. Although the host who has become a Flood Dragon is not an official member of the Dragon Clan, he has completely broken away from the ranks of ordinary beasts. When the host releases Dragon Aura, ordinary beasts will tremble in fear and will not dare to challenge the host's dignity. If the other party has the bloodline of a snake or flood dragon, the effect of this skill will be increased by 50%. It will only have a slight effect on beings with a higher bloodline or realm than the host. This skill doesn't have much lethality, unless the other party's realm is far lower than yours. Then they might be scared to death by the host's gaze. However, when facing such trash, the host wouldn't really need to activate this skill, right? No way, right? 8. Black Water of the Styx River. The host will be the source of the Styx River, and open up a Styx River that belongs to him. All the creatures killed by the host will float in this Styx River. The host can decide their future at any time. If the host is not willing to let them go, they will sink into it forever and won't even have the chance to be reincarnated. This skill seems to have come from an extremely terrifying plane. Even with the power of this system, I can only see a corner of it. This skill can be upgraded, but it can't be cultivated through normal means, and it can't be replaced with attribute points. The cultivation method of this talent is extremely evil. The more the host kills, the stronger this talent will be. Perhaps in time, the host will be able to open up a new netherworld based on himself. Martial Arts. 1. Golden Body Secrets, Stage 3 Perfection. When the host consumed a special spiritual item to temper his body, this martial art was upgraded to the perfection stage. The host can activate or deactivate the Golden Body Secrets. When the Golden Body Secrets is activated, the host will obtain 65% damage immunity. Because the Golden Body Secrets has been perfected, normal attacks will no longer reduce the progress of the Golden Body Secrets. However, some special attacks can directly cripple the host's cultivation of the Golden Body Secrets. The host must take care and develop wretchedly. Don't be reckless. In addition, this martial art can only be evaluated as trash by the system. For a real magical power, this martial art can be shattered at any time. However, this martial art is not without any advantages. For example, the host can activate this martial art to disguise himself as a member of the Golden Dragon Clan. 2. Tyrant Song of the World, Special Martial Art, cannot be upgraded. This martial art uses a special method to help the host speak. When the host speaks, the host's dignity is increased by 20%. Skills. 1. Void Embrace, 2/10/500. When the skill is activated, the host can enter the void for a short period of time. 1 second after the skill is activated, the host will appear behind the target and attack. If the host doesn't have any special methods, it will be impossible to escape from the void's embrace. 2. Cursed Poison, 1/500. The host can use his own poison to replace the target's blood, controlling the target's life and death. Unless the host is immune to the poison, the host can control almost any existence corroded by his own cursed poison. 3. Sea Suppressing Tail, 0 out of 500. Because the host has upgraded his Water Flood Dragon bloodline, the original Thorny Whip skill has been upgraded. Now, this skill can deal an additional 50 points of true damage to the target. However, without the power of vibration, When the host uses this skill in water, its power is increased by 50%. 4. Blood boil technique, 10 out of 100. When the host activates the blood boil technique, the host's attributes will be doubled for 3 minutes. The cooldown time is 3 days. 5. All things have spirit, cannot be upgraded. The host can communicate with any creature through his thoughts, regardless of species or language. You're tuning in to the Xiaofan's Wuxia Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.